Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club.
Wait, let me start earlier. This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time.
Soap. I make and I sell soap.
This is how I met Tyler Durden.
You're not your job. You're not how much money you have in the bank. You're not the car you drive. You're not the contents of your wallet.
Hey.
How much of that was you and how much was like pre-stock trailer on that one?
Well, you have to cut a lot of stuff in context to make it work. So it's kind of like the scene.
Well, sometimes you found like the one that was the real like theatrical trailer, and you were like, "This will work." Like,
yeah.
Man. I'm excited for this one. This was one of the first ones I wrote on the schedule back when I made it over a year ago. So, hello everybody. Hello Uninspired.
Hey.
We're actually not allowed to talk about this movie, so it's going to be a really short stream. We're just going to show up and be like, "Here you go." But yeah, howdy to Waylon Bacifus. Amelia Bedelia is already upset with us.
Got Boosh in the chat.
Boosh is there, yeah. People will trickle in as this one goes along. This is one of our time slots that doesn't get as utilized, so people kind of forget it happens. But it allows us to stream with some other people, 3 of which today I've brought in, all ones that normally wouldn't be able to make our standard show,
our regular scheduled program.
our regularly scheduled programming. So yeah, I think we should get those guys in. What do you think?
Yep, let's do it, man.
Well, the first one is actually one of the was the first guy that I booked for this one, and he's bringing a little. He's going to be a he's bringing a little regalness to this. He might be a king from some far off pumpkin patch, and that would be Mr. Gourd King.
Hello.
Or in this case, he is Jack's O'Lantern.
Yes, I am. I have my IKEA catalog. My lawn is properly oiled, and I am ready to talk this awesome movie.
Oh man, I'm really happy to have Gord on, man. I like streaming with him, but our schedules rarely sync up, and he is he's always a great asset to talk about movies because he does real deep dives on almost everything. So
yeah.
How does it feel to finally make it to Two Hoes?
It feels good. There's always a part of me that on Saturdays, I'm usually listening to this stream while I'm seated at work. So it's actually a nice change to be at a computer and actually talking directly about the movie rather than just, messing around in chat and looking side to side to see if my supervisor's watching.
Don't pour motor oil on your lawn, people. Well, luckily for you, I mean, I figured if we were going to have a king on, I couldn't only have one royal guest. So this is a guy I've streamed with many times over on Echo Chamberlain's channel, and he doesn't go by king, but he goes by another term for it, and that would be the Despot of Antrim.
Nice.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on, Darker.
Oh, thank you for being on, man. It's a did someone just say Nick Rikita in the
yeah
what is going on in the chat? Oh man, it's good. Despot's actually the first of the Echo Chamber members to make a debut here, so that's
nice.
Pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I got all 3 of you scheduled, but you're the first one to make an appearance, and Amelia Bedelia is happy that the Irish have arrived.
Yeah. Dude, it's a pleasure to have you on, man, especially to talk about Fight Club.
Oh yeah, great movie. I've loved that since I was a young teenager.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's older than you realize. It's been around for a while now. Yeah. It's 25 years old this year. But yeah, we'll get into our first experiences with it very shortly. But we do have one returning guest since we have 2 debuting ones. But I said I would get him back on. He had stepped up to the plate for a movie he wasn't particularly familiar with, and when he said he wanted to do this one, I knew I had to get him on. And since everybody else is some sort of royalty, I'm going to call him King Richard's Reviews right over here. So. How you doing,
Richard.
man?
I'm good. King Richard, unfortunately, is shocking. All of them died very badly. So yeah, that's not an omen, eh? Yeah.
This actually.
So you got me on for Kung Fu Hustle, and my mate,
Yeah.
if you remember, posted me up the DVD like 2 months ago. Yeah, because I'm organised. It's still here. I haven't then like to post it back. Yeah,
I got my Steelbook edition of Fight Club back there. I bought that when I was like 16 or something. Like I still have it to this day. So, but yeah, thanks for all being on.
I just haven't got organised.
Yeah. I will not be leaving this jacket on very long because I no longer fit in it, and I squeezed into this with motor oil as well. It does not fit around my arms. This is the furthest I could bend my arm, but this is my Tyler Durden jacket. And I will take it off when my fingers go numb, which will probably be in the next 5 to 10 minutes. But man, so
That's a literal weird flex.
yeah, this is barely. This is the weirdest flex I've ever made. Oh man, I'm glad to have you all on. These are all great streamers, great movie. It's been a while since we've done one of these, an actual movie breakdown on Two Hoes. It's been almost a month.
That's true. Yep.
Or actually, it's been over a month. So,
Yep.
I almost forgot how we do this. How do we do this again?
All the slides and everything everything is properly prepped. So first things first is we are gonna go and see what was your first experience with the movie. So I think we should start with Despot. What was your first memory of the movie, and what was when was the last time that you watched it?
The last time I watched it was yesterday because I wanted to refresh it for the stream. But I still remember the movie very well. I've seen it many times over the years, and I cannot remember the first time I seen it because I've probably been watching that movie since I was 11, 12. I've liked it since I was a wee boy. Yeah. And I do remember I was in English class and I me and another guy called Matt fucking loved this movie. And the English teacher said something like, Brad Pitt's a shit actor. And we looked at each other in shock horror, like she had just said something sacrilegious, because to us, that guy was Tyler Durden, you know? Maybe to her, he was some pretty boy or something, but to us, that was Tyler Durden she was talking about. So,
I mean, in fairness, he's still pretty much a pretty boy in this movie. He just does it in a really badass way. You know?
That's true.
Yeah, he does.
But he had kind of already shown his acting chops in 7, I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's always been a good actor. He was one of those guys who had to transition from the pretty boy look to.
Yeah, I think in Fight Club's when he kind of went from mere pretty boy good actor to, you know, the one that women want to be with and guys kind of want to be. I think he kind of transitioned into that Fight Club.
It's very much the guys. It's the aspirational male archetype when you look at him in Fight Club. For a lot of guys, I would call it the sort of. You could call it the Patrick Bateman effect or the Wolf of Wall Street effect, where you take a character that's clearly evil and a horrible person, but a lot of people, a lot of men, I would say a plurality of men, look at that character and think, I want to be that. You know what I mean? Like a lot of guys look at American Psycho and they don't care that he murders women. They just think, I want to live in a big penthouse and be and feel important. Same with Wolf of Wall Street.
For years, when my Facebook, you know, I had like the who inspires you. All I had on there was Tyler Durden for a very long time.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot to like about him, but it's why he's such a great character, because he's so mixed. And yes, I do. I know why someone would ask to identify as Irish, because about half the population of Northern Ireland identify as British for reasons that I won't bore you with. But
that's one of my all-time favorite panels included you, and it was an open bar. It was you, Little Platoon, obviously Mauler and Drinker, and I was like, "Holy shit! The entire UK is represented in one panel. That's so cool!" Yeah. Like, oh man, that was back before I was like, you know, that was back when I first started really paying attention to a lot of the guests. And I just remember saying, "What?" every time Despot said something, but I understand him now, so that's good.
Good.
I'm just messing. But I guess we'll move over to Gourd King. What was your first experience with Fight Club? And this is gonna come off. My hands are going numb. I'll be right back.
I first saw this movie, I want to say around the age 20, 21, so probably 2003, 2004-ish. So the funny thing for me was at the time I was living in, it was my first ever time living in an apartment by myself, and it was kind of dingy. Really bad part, like probably one of the few bad parts of town in the city I live in. I mean, it's for a relatively big city, it's not all that dangerous. There's maybe 2 or 3 bad areas, and I was in one of them. So, you know, like scenes like them being on Paper Street in that house, like even though my apartment didn't even remotely compare to theirs, you know, it resonated in certain ways. You know, seeing the movie when I lived on my own and all the stuff that was in it, it's really fascinating watching the film because I'd heard about it. There was some buzz with some of my friends around it. They all seemed to like it, but no one, I mean, funny enough, no one really seemed to talk about it too much. Like nobody ever gave anything away. So, you know, I got to go in kind of completely blind. And it was, what was kind of funny was when I bought the DVD, like the guy at the checkout just kind of gave me this knowing look like, oh, you're gonna like this.
He gave you like
it was like one of the barmen
members.
It was like one of the barmen winking at Edward Norton. It's just like, this would be good. You'll like this. And I liked it so much I ended up showing it to my brother like a week later. I showed him this and Akira back to back, and he had the biggest headache after that. It kind of
that's a
blew
pretty
his
cool
mind
double
away.
feature.
Yeah. But yeah, I love this movie. I've watched it twice this weekend to prepare. Not that I needed to. Probably seen it like 30 times already. It's not my favorite Fincher movie, but one of my favorites.
All right. Richard, what about you, man? What was your first experience with this movie?
I think I first watched it on Christmas Day.
Like that's a nice present.
2000, 2001. Yeah. Well, you know, I worked in a store that had you know, video section, so I peeled a few out of there, and I think I think it was Christmas Day and VHS. So rolling back the years.
Going forward, this will be considered a Christmas movie on Tuhos. So
nice.
Yeah, Christmas Day is kind of winding down, and I think my siblings was kind of babies, and so I just cracked that on in my room, and good times. Of course, I was like 20 and didn't really understand it, so
I still don't think I fully understand the movie, probably because I never read the book. So I should do that. I should correct that problem.
Yeah, the novel by Chuck Palahniuk.
It's a good book, but I do think that's one of the examples where the movie is better than the book.
Oh, that's pretty interesting to hear.
Not really. I mean, there's other examples. I mean, the book would need to be an absolute masterpiece to be better than the movie or even as good. But a lot of the themes are still there, and a lot of the really clever lines and dialogue are lifted from the book. It's still a very good book, but it's not. It's been years since I read it, so I can't remember it that well. But I do remember thinking, it's not up there with the movie. It's not quite as good, and there's some bloat in there. And the problem with the book as well, he spends an awful lot of time in the head of the protagonist, basically the protagonist thinking out loud, which can get a bit boring. But it's still good. It's still good. It's got some excellent dialogue.
The second book Melvin mentioned, I actually have it. It's up here. It's actually a graphic novel. Right here. I wouldn't call it shit. It's not great though. But I wouldn't call it shit.
It's got a tough act to follow though, hasn't it, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Uninspired, what's your first time watching the movie?
Oh. The first time I watched this movie, I think I was around 12, and I didn't understand jack shit, dude. No joke. I was just like, all right, this is pretty cool. Tyler Durden is cool. That's pretty much it. And then I watched it again a couple of years later when I was about 17, and I really liked it. And that was the last time that I had watched it ever since, until last night. And I just never remembered it being so good. And so yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. And like the fact of watching it twice in about a 24-hour period, I think knowing the twist, of course, you pick up on so many little details that just make the script worthwhile, just visually and of course what you hear. It's like so many little details make this movie very, very good. So yeah,
I agree. I think that this is one of the rare instances where after you've learned the twist, it actually improves the film. It's very rare that happens, because usually it's like you've lost the novelty factor of like, oh well, now I know where it's going. And in this case, it's like it's almost like you're watching. If you haven't read the book, obviously, if you read the book, you know where it's going. But if you haven't seen it before, read the book, and then the next time after you see it, it's almost like watching a completely different movie, because now you have a different perspective to look at it from.
Yep.
But yeah.
So, dude, what about you, man?
So yeah, I mean, I was a teenager. I don't remember exactly how old, probably like 14. First time I saw it. I remember watching it, and I've mentioned my friend Icaro from high school multiple times on this stream, who I gotta get him on here one day, because he has an impeccable taste in movies. And he was like, me and him would watch this like once a week. Like, I'm not even kidding. That's what it was, that DVD copy right there. We would just burn that thing out, and we just loved it. It got to the point where we could quote it, you know, almost start to finish, which I do with a lot of movies nowadays. But and as I got older, I just grew to appreciate it more because of the subtleties in it, and like the little details that I didn't pick up on the first time as a teenager. Like I said, I still don't think I completely understand every aspect of the story, but I don't think anybody can. I honestly think it's all about the psychological aspects. I think there are parts that you as a person may never pick up on, because you just don't connect with it, even if somebody explains it to you. Which I think makes it a great movie. I rewatched it recently for this. I was on a plane, which was very interesting when they have the scene where he thinks where he envisions the plane getting destroyed midair. But it's every time I watch it, I find that time goes pretty quick. Like, it's almost like, I know it's not a short movie, not the longest movie in the world. It's not a short movie either.
It seems very short,
but it's very quick.
Yeah, it's very fast paced.
Pacing is fantastic.
I'm still trying to get past the fact that you had a friend named Icaro. Hearing the past adventures of Dark Hour and Icaro, it sounds like a fantasy.
Well, my real name's Russ, but it's like, you know. Yeah, he was a guy that I knew in high school. He came from Brazil originally, and he was. I remember the first time I met him, and I was like, okay, like, you're making up that name. That's not real. Like, that's like you could have just told me that you didn't want to talk. It's cool, but yeah, that's right. My experience with it. But we got some. Before we fully get in, we have a super chat that just rolled in from Iron Man Drill. Best twist in movie history other than The Sixth Sense. I honestly, I would fight on that. I think that this one's better than The Sixth Sense. I mean, we have The Sixth Sense coming up later this year, in about a month, and we'll probably have that. I think we can have that discussion at that point. But I would argue that this is a better twist.
Funny thing for me is this. Okay, The Sixth Sense twist was spoiled for me before I ever saw it, and this one I figured out as the movie progressed. I didn't think it was that difficult to figure out, but it didn't hurt the movie at all. I still thought it was a great. It was more like, it felt more like confirmation than really shocking to me. I was just more and more was picking up hints in the dialogue and the way, you know, Tyler and the narrator are never with Marla at the same time. Like, there were little things I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting the sense of the same person. So it was fun to watch it from that perspective. But
I'm just going to say this to anybody out there in the crowd. If you haven't seen the movie, they're the same person.
Spoiler alert. You know?
If you're here, I hope you've seen it.
And I love, there's a specific scene that I love, and when we get to it, I'll talk about it. But watching it through the lens of knowing that he's only interacting with himself is fantastic. But you know.
Oh yeah, well, and there's some really well-written clues in the way they talk to each other that alludes to it.
Yep. And I guess we should get into it, man. So 20th Century Fox. Now, I guess here lies
Disney.
20th Century Fox. Yeah, now Disney.
No.
So yes, Disney owns...
Wait a minute, is Marla Singer a Disney princess? Because that would be great.
Ooh.
No, yeah, Disney princesses don't have love interests anymore and haven't had in over 10 years. I think it was 2013 was the last time a Disney princess had a love interest, so definitely not.
Yikes.
You know what? I'm gonna make it a question over on the stream. I'm gonna make it a poll: The Sixth Sense or Fight Club. Better twist, because there's a couple people are talking about it in the chat. So give me a second.
Can I have a third option?
If a third option pops up, I mean, I could do as many options as I want. Okay, I'll throw all three in there.
Usual Suspects twist is really great. That elevates that movie quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. And so intro credits, ladies and gentlemen, something that we rarely get nowadays, that we always complain about on Two Hosts, that we never get in movies today. And this one is pretty creative, just like the zoom out until like it's one of the best, coolest shots of the movie. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Oh, I mean, everything from the shot to the music. I even just love the little touch of there being this almost like this second of kind of nice sounding music, and then it just cuts off into this, this jam they got going. But yeah, it's one of my favorite intro sequences of any movie, really.
Well, that music, the music interrupted is symbolic of what happens to the narrator, because he's got this pleasant little life, and it's nice, and he owns his IKEA furniture, and then all of a sudden it just blows up, and his life goes in this crazy journey, which I think the music reflects that. It's the nice little it's a foreshadowing of the plot of the movie.
Yep. And, of course, what we learn now is that Tyler and the narrator are here to witness something that the Project Mayhem Demolitions Committee is placed, and it's basically 12 buildings that are going to explode, and they're all in the undergrounds of the buildings, the bombs. And this is our first proper look at Tyler and the narrator. So in my mind, when I first saw this, I was always intrigued because Brad Pitt is always facing forward. Like his back is always towards the camera at most times. And that was something that I didn't really pick up on the first time I was watching it. So on the second time, when I knew the twist, I was pretty intrigued to see all the throwaway lines that they put where you can clearly infer, because I know this because Tyler knows this. And you're like, oh, okay. That's pretty cool now that I know the context.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, it's one of those lines that if you think about it, and like they kind of give away the twist right there in the first, was it like the 6th or 7th line of the movie, but yeah. they do it in a very subtle way.
Yeah, the important thing is the movie doesn't marry itself to the reveal as being tremendously important. Even if you guessed it and it was very obvious to you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the quality of the movie. A mistake that a movie makes when it's trying to do twists often is that they become too attached to it, and it's all about the big reveal. And it's like they're trying to throw the audience off. And if you do that, then there's very little rewatchability factor, because you've turned basically, you're working with the mystery box effect. Once the box is open, no one wants to watch it again. So Fincher very cleverly doesn't do that. He's not too obvious about it, but there are plenty of little hints there, so that when the reveal does come, it's not a massive shock at all. In fact, it's quite unsurprising by the time you get there.
Yep.
Yeah, and similar to The Sixth Sense, the twist, when the twist happens, is like it's a movie that deserves this kind of twist, because you're dealing with a character that has these two personalities, and that would be a shock to that character. So it's really not a movie twist where you're just trying to shock the audience. You're shocking the character, and it's fully justified when it arrives, similar to The Sixth Sense. I mean, both of those have twists that are very well earned and service the movie rather than the movie depends on them.
Superfluous moniker in the chat. By the way, for those who have read the book, he has a name in the book, right? I don't think he does, right? He's just the narrator still in the book.
I don't think he does have a name in the book.
Yeah, I don't think they ever give him a name. The whole point is that he doesn't. One of the aspects that allows for Tyler to take over mentally is that he doesn't even acknowledge. He never even says his own name. He basically doesn't acknowledge himself as a person half the time.
It's written in the first person, so it's easy for the writer to simply refer to him as I, me.
Yeah.
So we have a chat from Vex Electronica. Helena Bonham Carter looks like that dirty oil rag your mechanic uses when you get an oil change in this movie. Yep.
I was actually saying
this. She's so hot in this.
Okay,
I'm
okay. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only person who thinks that.
I don't agree. But
I don't think it's every
own.
scene in the movie. I think there's particular scenes where she looks good. I actually think she starts to look progressively better as the movie goes. That scene where he's telling her Tyler isn't here. Yeah. I think she looks particularly good there. But yeah, it's like there's parts of the movie where it's like, whew, she looks rough.
But I mean,
that's
she's
a running
got that
aspect of the movie that people, the certain characters become either better looking or worse looking as they go along. Go ahead, Despot. I'm sorry I cut you off.
Well, she's just got that goth chick energy going on. I love it.
I mean, I don't know. I've never found her attractive at all. I recently saw Beetlejuice, and I just like remember thinking to myself as I was watching it, I was like, man, did Tim Burton trade up when he got with Monica Bellucci? You know?
I mean, she's definitely a better goth or emo chick than what's her face on The Crow.
See what you're talking about, yeah.
But yeah, this somebody said it before that this is like amazing lighting, and it really is because and throughout the whole movie they use lighting to great effect because they do a lot of that foreground background stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I also say, you know, narration's always tricky in a movie because it can oftentimes be a really bad choice. Like, you know, if you watch Blade Runner with the narration, I think it brings the movie down quite a bit. So did Harrison Ford. Edward Norton's narration is genuinely enthralling. Like it's obviously necessary because, you know, you've got this whole dynamic of stuff going on in his head, but his narrative performance is pretty excellent. Like I love listening to his narration. It's really, really good. And it's really well written.
Mm. Yeah, and it's really snappy dialogue too, and it's straight to the point each time he narrates. You know, there's nothing wasted. There's no like even in the sentences, there's no words wasted. So it's high paced and it's well. Because a lot of the times when narration goes bad, it's because they just give us way too much in narration. We don't see enough, and I think that this one does it really successfully.
I think going back to Helena Bonham Carter, she's in this. She's like Marmite. Either you like it or you do not.
Yeah, I'm a big. I mean, I would assume Tim Burton has a shit ton of money. That's probably has something to do with how he got Monica Bellucci.
And influence, you know, he can. Yeah. It's not just casting in his own movies. He has a lot of clout in Hollywood, and he can get actresses' roles in other movies. I mean, these are actresses in Hollywood. They're willing to engage in transactional relationships. Or it could be that Tim Burton's just an absolute fucking chad, and he's just he's a total lady killer. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. That could be it. And speaking of lady killers, we have bitch tits Bob here, ladies and gentlemen.
Bob had bitch tits. I love that line.
Getting a face full of meatloaf.
It's the delivery, the way that he does it.
Rest in peace, by the way, Meatloaf. He does fantastic in this movie. He's not really known as an actor. I mean, he was in several other movies as well.
He was in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, man.
Yeah, he's not really known as an actor, but when he does get a chance, he was really good at it.
When did Meatloaf die?
Meatloaf died. He died a few weeks after. So it went. Bob Saget died, then Betty White, and then Meatloaf. So he just kind of no one talked about it because the first two were all anybody were talking about.
Betty White, man.
Yeah, Betty White basically overshadowed Meatloaf. Let me see, what was that? That was
I didn't know he was dead. Yeah. That's the first I've heard of it.
I think he died in 2023.
Man, your tickets for his live concert aren't going to be worth very much, are they?
No. Christ, I was looking forward to that too.
That's one of my. So I don't know who here has ever played or like Cards Against Humanity. There's two cards in the game that I love, and one of them is Meatloaf the Man, and the other one is Meatloaf the Food. It's the two nouns that you could say.
One of my favorite moments in this movie is a Meatloaf moment. It's where he sees the narrator for the first time in months, and he goes Bob, and he's eating a donut, and he kind of licks his lips and throws the donut behind him at the same time. It's perfect. It's just one of those amazing little moments in movies That's just perfect, and it's all Meatloaf.
Yeah.
That's Meatloaf, man. Yeah, he's really really good, especially in a serious role like this. Because a ton of times you just see him in funny stuff, and I think his comedic timing is on point with the role as Bob.
This is it was January 2022, 74. So it was I hate when that happens. Yeah, so that means Betty White died at the end of 2021, and they were so close together that his just kind of got overshadowed because people were still, shocked that the 99-year-old woman who was about to turn 100 died and didn't even bother to talk about Meatloaf.
They were going to do like a birthday celebration on TV for her and everything. She died right.
No, it was in theaters. It was in theaters.
Yeah, I remember seeing those previews. And also, we can't forget Norm Macdonald passed about 4 months before Bob, which that was devastating.
Yeah.
And so we get the flashback for the narrator's past 6 months, and we have Tyler in a ton of these. And so what we basically learn from the narrator is that he has severe insomnia. He barely sleeps. He's very dysfunctional because of it, and like they even emphasize on this by showing us the way that he knows what day it is. He doesn't know what day it is because he's at work, and you're supposed to know what day it is, especially if you're filing paperwork and stuff. But no, he recognizes what day it is just by looking at his boss's tie, to just show you how disconnected he is from the world. And of course, he is a slave to IKEA. Aren't we all at this point, ordering from IKEA? I don't know, man.
At this point, now it would probably be Amazon. If they did this now, they would probably use Amazon as a.
Yeah, he wouldn't be on the phone. He'd be on a computer.
Yeah,
oh, dude, for sure.
But like, I would say that Amazon would probably, because I would say I don't know about you guys, but for me, I got a new something from Amazon pretty much every day.
Also, I love the way Fincher utilizes music in this, because a lot of the music is really odd and would be out of place in plenty of other movies, but he picks like just perfect music for every part. Like this, it sounds like elevator music when you're going through his apartment with all the little prices, and his apartment looks like a catalog. It's like, I love the way he used that. It adds a little bit of flavor, makes it kind of funny, but oddly depressing at the same time.
Adam Gray has a great point here, and I've always thought this, but I guess until I just read it, that he says that it looks like he's looking at a centerfold.
Yeah,
it never really clicked to me that it's kind of him fantasizing about the stuff, and I knew that, but just reading that right now kind of brought that visual to me. Is that's how he's doing it?
Yeah, so they really nailed this adaptation. Had the perfect director and leads. Palahniuk's other film adaptation for Choke was super sloppy. Yeah, I've heard Choke was pretty bad.
I agree with that.
I mean, it's interesting because how much do you guys think falls onto the editor as well? Because we know the editing is quite a big task, and with the BTS stills that show at the end, this was filmed on film. And it's interesting because the editor only had one prior title to their name, and it was The Game, the Michael Douglas movie.
Another David Fincher film.
Yeah, and that was it. And this was his second movie as an editor.
Dang.
Which,
done.
Really, what a great way to start your career, man.
Yeah. That's impressive.
I mean, I would say that a lot of what makes this film so effective is the usage of very creative edits as they go along, whether it be the way that they single frame slipped. I mean, that was fantastic. Do you have that for each one that they do, by the way? The Tyler Durden single frames?
Yeah, normally if I didn't miss it, I have one for every.
Yeah, I think they do it three. I think they do it 3 times. If you don't count him being randomly in like the hotel video, and like those little things, those subtle, it creates the feeling. You almost feel tense the whole movie. Like there's like a weird tension to how everything is in this, and I think it comes right down to the way it's edited. There's also that weird kind of I don't want to call it a filter, but that color grading that they use.
Yeah, the color grade is really spectacular on this.
It gives you almost like an eerie sense, like for big chunks of the movie.
Oh yeah, and Simon Patterson makes a point. Yeah, Primal Fear, Edward Norton. I really think Ed Norton is quite an underrated actor in general. I feel like he has been in so many really good things where he definitely deserves an Academy Award. But then on the other hand, you just never hear from him, like for a long time, and then he just pops out of nowhere. Like for now, I haven't heard of him since.
I mean, he's
I
kind
think
of a
Birdman.
trouble on set, from what I understand. So there's a lot of directors probably who just don't like working with him.
No,
Yeah,
they're good,
it's been said he's fairly difficult to work with.
But he's a
Well, I think-
fantastic actor, though. I mean, he's usually the best part of a film. If not tied for the best thing about a film. I mean,
He
he's
was shit
pretty
as the
excellent.
Hulk, Melvin. I disagree, man. I think Ed Norton was cool.
No,
as
I
the
think he
Hulk.
was the best Hulk. I still to this day, I will fight tooth and nail that the Incredible Hulk was the best Hulk, like the way
Hulk
they ever did
movie.
Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was really good.
Yeah,
It's a
like
shame-
like Mark Ruffalo started great as the Hulk for the Avengers. Like that was, I think, the best singular Hulk performance, maybe. But I would have preferred to see Edward Norton play it out, and I think he would have been more consistent.
Yeah, man. But
let's not talk about Eric Bana.
oh, I like Eric Bana, man. I like the 2003 Hulk. I actually love the 2003 Hulk movie. It's so bad, it's good.
Just looks like he's made out of Play-Doh.
Yeah, but at least you get like good stuff like Hulk dogs. I don't even know what the fuck that ending is with just a cloud fighting Hulk. It's like, yeah, man. It's like you
think,
go up on, like those Ryan George pitch meetings. You're like, yeah, how can we end this spectacular movie? It's like, I don't know, let's have Hulk fight a cloud. Incredible. Incredible.
Another thing to notice in this scene as well, we've seen it in the previous slide with The Office. Look at how pristine and basically geometric everything is. So if you look at those dossiers at the foreground of the shot, you've got these three dossiers sort of set very neatly on top of one another, and there's the paperwork behind him, which is all very neat. And nothing's sort of cramming into each other. And that's obviously not realistic. If you were to go into a doctor's office, they're usually quite messy, especially around that time with, shit all over the table. But it's the same with his office. His office is absolutely pristine. It's so, it's like mathematically perfect almost. And it reflects this, this very boxed in lifestyle that he has. And over the course of the movie, as he becomes freer and freer, he becomes more and more chaotic. And his surroundings reflect that as they become, messier and messier.
There's nothing identifiable on that desk. If it's a doctor's desk or his own, you have no idea who's there. It's entirely.
It just looks like an office desk.
Yeah.
His whole life kind of looks like an office at this stage of the movie.
Yeah.
Is that his desk or that's
the doctor's desk?
Yeah. I've always said that the doctor is the whole reason why this movie even happens. If this doctor just gives him a prescription for Ambien, the movie doesn't occur.
Dude, it's true. And plus, like, the doctor, what he says is fake. He's like, insomnia can kill you. It actually can.
Oh, it totally can.
It's like, I don't know where this dude got his degree from, man. But yeah,
he definitely went to medical school in Grenada or something.
Well, in a way, he kind of sounds like someone who's just tired of his job. I mean, it's like every patient's just somebody's like, okay, you're just next in line. I'm gonna give you the easiest possible recommendation. He just doesn't care anymore. It's just like whatever.
Around the time the book and then inevitably the movie was made, there was a severe, and it still happens to this day. It's just they've made a lot of there's a lot more walls that you have to get through now. But there was a lot of prescription drug abuse in terms of people going to doctors and basically lying just to get specific pills. Now you go through a lot of jump through a lot of hoops to get, because they won't give you they'll only give you a certain amount, especially for any psychotropics. They'll only give you a certain amount, and 30 days or 60 days you can't refill for the prescription. But at this point, it was a severe problem with people just lying to doctors and stuff to get whatever they wanted, and going to like a different doctor and getting prescribed the same thing again.
Yikes.
Looking at the doctor, I would 10 out of 10 not even take a prescription of paracetamol from that guy. Nah.
This Moses Lack for $4.99. He has a almost as if this was like the perfectly timed super chat. He found the one doctor in Los Angeles who wouldn't prescribe him something. But that's the truth. Is like that was especially common. Like people would like doctors were just like, fuck it, whatever. What do you want? I'll just write you the prescription. I don't care. Now they have like if they get, it's a lot harder to do now.
Iceman says they don't give you anything but paracetamol if you're black. And of course, Gord, you're in the chat defending Zodiac as the best Fincher movie.
Well, no, so that's Simon Pattinson asked if it was good. I don't think he'd seen it, so I was just answering his question.
Dark Hour, there you go again, Tyler Durden.
You did a great job with these, man. Because here's the thing is I've never actually stopped them to see what he looked like in this. I'm so happy you did this. I finally get to see what, because it's it's him. You know it's him because you see it in the color of the jacket and all that stuff.
The jacket,
but,
yep.
Yeah. And now to see what the faces he's making and stuff is actually, it's almost like I'm watching the movie again for the first time.
You know, funnily enough, he's actually in it for literally one frame. I thought that it would have been maybe one, or maybe 1.5 or something, or two.
I was thinking about that. It looked like 2 frames to me.
Yeah, it looks like 2 frames. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Anybody out in the chat who's wondering, so we do for all of these streams, I always do a Twitter conversation so I can get I chose the picture of that he eventually puts in the child film. So that was
his jacket must be a couple of sizes bigger than yours, Dark Hour. It looks a lot more roomy, and he can.
I mean, I'm a bit larger than Brad Pitt, so it might be the exact same size actually. He's especially when later in the movie when he's like 4% body fat toward the end. It's
Jesus,
insane.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
I plugged your stream on to my Facebook page, and I thought in the photo of it was, if anyone's confused, that's Brad Pitt in the photo, not me. I understand there's some you may get it mixed up.
Man.
Nobody got it mixed up.
Iceman in the chat firing some shots, man. The Social Network is best Fincher. Boom, boom,
I have no
boom.
problem with anyone saying it. Social Network's excellent.
Yeah, it's a great
Fincher has several movies that if you want to say it's his best, I totally get it.
And Dark Hour, here's the one where you see Tyler Durden in the church with everyone. And I think this is the last one that we have with him.
I'm pretty certain there's only 3, and then like I said, later on you see him in the hotel, like that video they put. This is the hotel you're staying at. Like I don't count that though because that I have a theory on that, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
All right. And so the doctor basically recommends exercise and natural sleep, which
no shit.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Doc, I'm having trouble sleeping. Have you tried sleeping?
It's the best solution ever. And so what he tells him is if he wants to see a real pain, he recommends going to the testicular cancer group at the church, and that's what Edward Norton's character does. And this poor dude over here crying his heart out because he can't have kids, and his ex-wife is now having kids with a new husband, and so they're comforting.
He should just choose some Larry and Root or something. They'll fix him. And I'm talking about this guy who has no testicles. So that'll fix him.
He says choose some Larry and get more exercise. That's his solution.
Yeah. Well, getting more exercise, that makes sense, but I've never really encountered a medical doctor who tries to be like, just you take supplements. That it's like I've never seen one that does that. It's like they might suggest it, but not as an alternative to actual medicine.
And
that's a great example of the movie's lighting there. The way the light hits Bob and the narrator, and the background's just kind of dark, but it's not too dark. That's just a perfect example of the beautiful use of the highlights in this movie.
I think it's also because of the color grading as well. It just adds that extra element, just makes everything pop. It looks so good. I think just visually, it's probably one of Fincher's best films. Visually, because I do like the rest, but I don't think that none of them pop to the eye as much as this one. So we have Bob, who's an ex-juicer. That's kind of how he's in this situation. And Edward Norton's character cries. He lets himself go, which gives him the best sleep of his life. Or even babies don't sleep this well. And
I love the low like choir they start playing as he starts to cry. That cracks me up. It's just this heavenly experience for him to finally get to let go.
And the sleeping position he's in is good too, because he's in that little fetal position, almost like he's in the womb.
Yep. And then now he decides to join every single help group. And let me just put this on full screen so we can
survivors group, Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
The Alcoholics Anonymous, that one is the most. The one you would think that there would. I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, what's funny about the Alcoholics Anonymous one? Well, the joke with the Alcoholics Anonymous one is it occurs 4 times on that schedule, so it's like they have to keep meeting. That's the funny part for that. I was like, that kind of cracked me up. I was like, oh,
let's see,
there over and over.
I wonder what Certain Resolve is. That one's kind of on like Sex Addicts Anonymous. Yeah, they only meet once a week because the problem is that they were all having too many meetings and everyone was going home with everybody.
Too busy, though, wasn't I?
Yeah.
If you look at the bottom left corner there, it says schizophrenic, but that means multiple personalities, right?
Yeah.
Schizophrenia is.
It's not multiple personalities. Basically, it's kind of like other.
Basically, your brain is wired incorrectly. That's essentially. There's multiple things that schizophrenia could do. Like you could experience your senses differently. There's different levels to it. I'm sure that there's somebody better out there that can explain it. But
is the narrator schizophrenic?
I think he is. I personally.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he probably is. Yeah,
because I mean, I guess that's a hint. A little. I mean, it's a little sort of very, very subtle subconscious background hint. And a lot of directors do this very well. Stanley Kubrick did this very well. He would put a lot of stuff in the movie that you're not consciously supposed to pick up on, but it's supposed to sort of be picked up on by your subconscious. And it builds over time. And it gives you it provides you with the kind of feelings and emotions that the director wants to elicit from you. You see that in really good horror movies do that well, like Alien, The Shining. And that's, I think, one example of really good sort of psychological subconscious element there, that little schizophrenic in the corner.
Stupenzo said that you could pick up chicks at AA, and apparently you could pick them up at cancer groups too, as we'll find out later.
Dude. Yeah. They're really, really desperate over there.
You go to them blood parasites group, them chicks. No.
You can't have the whole brain. I love that. I hope you have that clipped, because
that's such a great scene, because they're running around saying ridiculous. The conversation they're having is so ridiculous. They're saying things like, "I want brain cancer," or "Oh, you can keep the parasites."
I love the look.
I knew you wanted the parasites, and it's this bizarre conversation, but it makes such perfect sense in context.
The look that woman gives her, he's like, no, I want bowel cancer. And she just looks like,
and the conviction with which Ed Norton says it, like, I want bowel cancer. Love
that. We meet Edward Norton's spirit animal, a penguin, so
a penguin who says slide.
Yeah.
If everyone in the chat, tell us your power animal.
Oh man.
Yeah. That I don't think I could do both. I know that there is like a poll, like there's a poll option, then there's like a question option, where like people could just type in their own thing. If I can do both, I'll try, but I don't think I can. Oh, maybe I can. Hold on, I might be able to.
What would be? I'm going off of Melvin's school. It's like, what would be the encounter group for like an STD, like gonorrhea, baby gonorrhea, something like? What would that be?
Gonorrhea. There we go.
Yeah.
God, gonorrhea, Jesus, man.
Let's see this. I'm just gonna read the poll. Fight Club with 47%. Usual Suspects 41, Sixth Sense 12. Just in case I lose it for starting this Q&A, I've never done this before, so let's see what happens. Oh no, you could do both. Perfect. That's awesome. Cool. Okay.
Nice. All right. So let's get back into it. So right now he's in a safe cave, and in a safe cave he's there with a spirit animal, the penguin, because Marla Singer, ladies and gentlemen, Marla Singer is here to fuck up everyone's day and take all of his pleasure out of this, because he can't cry when another faker is there, and crying is the only way that he can sleep. And since she's been here, he hasn't slept in, I don't know if he specifies, I think 4 days. That's what he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how he calls her a tourist too, which is a great. I've ever since seeing this movie when I was younger, I started referring to people as tourists when they like are. And I think we like anytime someone invades a fandom, it should be that term should be used more.
Tourist, yeah. And there she is, Chloe. She's kind of desperate, but she has what does she say? She has like amyl nitrate in her house. She has
lubricants and amyl nitrate. That's like, okay, is it bad that when I was watching this, I was thinking
pornographic films? Don't forget, she says pornographic.
That was true, yeah. I was watching this and I was thinking, gosh, if I ever do a poorly explained video of this movie, I'm calling her just my type.
Unfortunately, like she just has this one scene. Then later on, they just kind of say she died, and that's it. And I feel like there was more story here. I would love to have seen.
I think it echoes the real world aspect of that, where you're in this group with someone and you kind of care about them indirectly just because you're in that group together. And so when something like their death happens, you're just like, oh, okay, they died. You know, you feel bad for a second.
Off to the right there too.
Oh, I love that.
The expression on her face is pretty funny.
This is a great example of actors, and Fincher's very good at doing this, because an aspect of directing that people often forget about is the background actors, or actors who are, lead actors or supporting actors, but they don't have a lot to do in the scene other than sort of be part of the furniture. And her performance, Helena Bonham Carter, in the entire movie, she's always that character. She's never phoning it in. She's never just sort of lazy waiting for her line. Like right there, she's just at the side of the shot, but it's so perfect the way she's almost looks like she's enjoying it. Like this is entertainment for her, because she says when she's asked why do you come to these things, and she replies because it's cheaper than a movie and they give free coffee. And she looks like she's watching a movie. She just looks like she's having a good time, enjoying the entertainment.
Yeah,
it's such a great performance, and that's an easy way to tell. Often people, when they look at a bad actor, they're talking about their line reads. And very often a bad actor, you can tell how bad they are by looking at their reactions. What do they look like when they're not talking, when they don't have a line, when they're supposed to be reacting to something? And bad actors, 100% of the time, they're terrible at that. They might be able to get their line reads across, maybe. They can't do the reactions, and they can't do the non-line reads stuff.
Yeah, because that's why I think Severance kind of takes that approach where what they do is they have every single camera rolling, and they tell the actors that they're going to be on camera, even if it's not, their main shot. They should still act as if they're going to be on camera, and they kind of just record some like backstage videos, and that's what they add in the actual edit of the movie or of the TV show, because they're unsuspecting but they're still in character. So I understand what you mean by that. And yeah, so ironically enough, they've been going to cancer and like tumor and stuff like that meetings, and Marla Singer kind of becomes his cancer. And that's really what's annoying him at this point of the movie. And that's what pushes it to go on, because she keeps getting into his head and into his safe space. So they broker a deal. And they kind of do it. What do? They do like bi-weekly shifts. That's kind of what they do.
So they come up with a schedule where they split them down. It's like every other day they get one, and they split the Saturday ones, like the weekend ones.
Split. Bowel cancer is the one they alternate on, but the other three they each get are fixed.
Yeah, well, I know that one of the ones is that he automatically gets testicular cancer because it only makes sense, and then she also gives him tuberculosis.
She gets the parasites. She
gives him tuberculosis because she says that her smoking doesn't go over well there. Which makes fucking sense. There was one thing here that I starred. right after she does this, when she goes and she gets the pants, that she just walks right, like all the clothes, and just walks right through traffic as if she doesn't give a shit if she gets hit is a great example. And superfluous moniker here, walk through traffic. She doesn't care if she gets hit. Yeah, it's like basically she doesn't care if she lives or not.
A real crackhead energy, man.
And then actually another one that came through, because then she actually asks him right after that what his real name is, and most is like his fake names are great, because it's like Cornelius, Rupert, and like there's another one that they say.
But yeah, and it's like, it's weird because it's only when I go to the credits and I saw the narrator, I was like, oh, I never realized that they don't give him a name, like a proper name.
His unofficial name has become Jack. Yeah, his unofficial name has become Jack. And Superfluous Moniker again coming in with another good one, points out that she has more of a right to the testicular cancer because he still has his balls, which is like, I love that line.
Great line. But she's not even particularly discriminating about the clothes she takes out. She just grabs some of them and he's like, "Yeah, you're leaving half your clothes." She just sells them. She doesn't even pick which one. She's like, "I'm just selling these."
I mean, the narrator does have a name. The narrator's name is Tyler Durden.
I mean,
well, yeah. Eventually, that becomes his name. It's
no, but that's his name. The entire that it is because on the plane tickets that he flies around everywhere, it says Tyler Durden on the plane tickets. And
yeah.
So
I mean,
you can redo that if that's the name on your ID.
They don't give Edward Norton like they don't give his character a specific name apart from
he's never named in the movie. He's never named in the movie except when Marta calls him Tyler Durden. But that is the guy's name. His name is Tyler Durden. He seems
even if it's not his birth name. Yeah, I guess.
No, it is his birth name.
No, it is his birth name.
No, it's his birth name. Yeah, his birth name is Tyler Durden because that's what's written on the plane tickets, and he wouldn't be able to get that without the ID.
I always operated under the feeling that he had got that his alternate, like his split personality had essentially
with all the guys that he knows too. With all the, I mean, granted, this wouldn't make up for it at the beginning of the film. He might have a separate name here. You could argue that when he's made all these various contacts and people working for him, someone could have made him a different ID and to fly out as Tyler Durden later.
Yeah, like he had a lot of members of Project Mayhem are like high ranking in various civil departments. He could easily have manipulated his way into getting fake identification.
That is,
I guess it's up to interpretation, I guess, if you really want to look at it that way.
It is. I mean, you could even go farther than that and say that his literal name is Tyler Durden, but he has forgotten his name, and this is symbolic of how he has lost his sense of self in the corporate world. But that is going pretty deep to say that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the best part about it is I don't think any of these arguments are wrong.
Oh, yeah. And there he is, Tyler.
I mean, the important thing is, though, it doesn't really matter. And I think it's important that he doesn't have a name. That's a very conscious decision from the writer and the director. Why does the main guy not have a name? And I think it's because he sort of represents this, the everyman of the time, that sort of late 90s guy who felt that his life had lost meaning and purpose, and he was just sort of lost in corporate space. And you've seen this same theme came out in other movies from around the same time. American Beauty, that was a very heavy theme. This idea of being lost in the sort of suburban emptiness and corporate vapid culture. And another one would have been Office Space. Is it called Office Space?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen that recently. And I don't think it's a very good movie. I like the first act, and then I think it sort of gets progressively worse. But the first act was excellent.
Office Space is one of those movies that, it's more of a quoting movie than it is a good, solid script itself. Yeah. It just has a lot of like quotable scenes.
Yeah, I saw a lot of potential. Like there was great potential in the first act, and then they kind of turned the guy into a criminal, which I just thought was a fucking dreadful decision.
Yep. I felt much the same way about that movie.
He's lost in the grind. I mean, I'm sure we've all been there with a 9 to 5 of, I've got another 40 years of this shit to go. and you get up
that's
and
why he's
sort yourself into your work gear and off you go.
So I think we may have skipped it at this point because this is kind of when he's flying and jumping around. I think this is right after he's done doing all of his I'm missing this flight or I'm too early for this one and I don't know where the hell I am and what time zone and all that shit.
Yeah, so he's a recall coordinator for a major car company. Which car company?
But
a major one.
A major one. But what there's a scene when he's in a hotel room and he's talking about the single serve lifestyle that he has, and if you look closely, you can see Brad Pitt is one of the
he's one of like server maitre d', whichever
the server maitre d' in the like the video you see before, like when you check into a hotel room. And I've always had this theory that he randomly picked that person out because I would assume that he goes to those hotels a lot. It's if he's flying on behalf of the company, he probably stays at the same hotels all the time. A lot of times when you do that, Despot's getting serious. Put on the glasses. When you fly places a lot for something, they're gonna like, let's say it's for the sake of argument, you stay at like Sheridan's or something a lot. You're gonna stay at those all the time because they're gonna be building up the corporate account. So he probably has seen that video hundreds of times, and I've always kind of headcanoned that he picked that guy out of that video and was like, I wish I looked like that guy.
It could be a subconscious thing as well.
Yeah.
I've heard that every single face you see in your dreams is a face you've seen before, which is an interesting. So interesting.
Yeah, something like we can't actually create like a face from like nothingness or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. That's just what I heard, but so that would certainly support your theory that he has his mind has subconsciously picked up on this guy in the welcome video of a hotel, and he has decided that is his masculine ideal that he wants to be. So he conjures that for himself.
Yeah, he has like the personality to it, and that's pretty much it. So he's a recall coordinator for a major car company, and now we finally meet Tyler, get the proper introduction of Tyler, who is a soap maker, an exquisite soap maker at that, because this dude is probably having his soap resold for at least $100 a bar. Yeah, he's a pretty good soap maker made with the human fat. So
yeah, that's one of my favorite lines in the movie. We were selling women their own fat asses back to them.
Yes. And so the narrator finally gets home, and surprise, surprise, there is no home. That's it. It's done. Everything is kaput. And he decides to call someone. At first, he decides to call Marla Singer, who he finds her the note that she had left him, half burned, but nice Hollywood burn where it's clearly readable and it
the
looks
perfect
good.
Burn. It just happens to contour the numbers. And...
It just happens to look aesthetically pleasing. But he decides to call Tyler Durden, who does not answer his phone. So what does it do? He star 69s him.
Yeah, he screens his calls because it's basically, which is weird because it's a payphone. So granted, this is all in his head. I have to keep reminding myself that, but it's a payphone. So like if someone calls it, it's it's a payphone even at their house, I believe, or something like that. And so like he called it and then it calls back, so he didn't even have to pay it. It's like a whole weird thing about the way that it's done with the payphones. I always love that, is that he's basically paying to talk to himself.
Which is pretty cool. So they go out for a drink because he has nowhere to go, so what he does is at Lou's Tavern he kind of has his anti-consumerism it's a monologue, kind of his anti-consumerism monologue, and you get to see who Tyler Durden is as a character. Plane rides aren't fun, Iceman, I think, in general.
The worst part for the plane rides for me is I get really bad ear clogging. And so and a lot of times, because everybody's threshold for that is a little different.
Yep.
And the altitude that planes tend to go into their holding patterns is mine. So if I'm in a long holding pattern, by the end of it, I can't hear shit. People are trying to talk to me. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah. And so going ahead, we see Tyler Durden's projectionist job. And this is something that I guess we're never going to see again. Film reels being changed at the cinema. Because I remember...
there's still some theaters that do this as like a vintage thing. But no, you're not going to see it on
pretty rare,
scale.
man. I remember I used to go to when I used to go to the cinema up until I think 2017. My theater was using reels, so I remember seeing the cigarette burns, man. But nowadays you're not gonna get it unless they add it digitally. It's kind of like
I was gonna say. Yeah, some movies will do it as like for vintage purposes. They'll just be like, they'll add them up there, but.
That's kind of it. And he splices a little bit of a penis in the middle of a kids movie, and everyone's reactions are just
say that. If you luckily you didn't do that frame, but to say that that's a little bit of a penis is a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, that's
the whopper that he puts in there. You know,
I mean, it's almost as big as the ones that like Disney animated onto some of their covers, but.
I love how the thing I love about this scene is that he also splices in the sound too, which is a completely different.
So he had to do that. I mean, how would you even do that? That's a bit more sophisticated.
I don't even know because I worked in digital with digital projectors for years. It would be really simple to do something like that with a digital film, but the sound reels were different. Like I don't even know how you would put in a single frame of sound, like or whatever a single bar of sound. I don't know how that would work. But I love the way that it is because all of a sudden it's just like
it's so perfect. Like it's it cut when the kids movie cuts out. It seems to cut out when a woman is in mid orgasm, and it's just perfect. It's a perfect bit of audio editing.
Something about this sequence, like the fact that he's doing this fourth wall break, talking to the audience about Tyler, always stood out to me. That it's a little different than the rest. This specific sequence is a little different than the rest of the movie.
It kind of feels like he's being interviewed for the camera. It's interesting.
Yeah, it kind of gets. I've always felt that this this is kind of like the Ferris Bueller's Day Off portion of the movie that they just decided they wanted to add to it, and I love it because it works really well with what they're trying to talk about.
Yeah,
oh, dude, yeah, I think it works. It works pretty well, and so now I do have a clip for us, which let me play it.
How much can you know about yourself? You've never been in a fight. I don't want to die without any scars.
This is crazy. You want me to hit you?
That's right.
What, like in the face?
Surprise me. Motherfucker! You hit me in the ear!
Well, Jesus, I'm sorry.
Ow! Christ! Oh! Oh! Hit me again. No, you hit me. Come on!
And that is how the Fight Club begins.
Despot, you used the box, right?
Yeah, I only had 2 amateur fights and then COVID hit.
Yeah, but I never actually had any formal boxing matches, but I did box for a while. Have you ever been hit behind the ear? It is one of the worst pains you will ever. It like throws off all of everything. It's because there's like just a bundle of nerve endings right there. It's the most disorienting place you could possibly be hit, besides maybe the back of the head.
I mean, I've been hit everywhere in sparring, and you're going to get hit everywhere because you're trying to avoid a shot, and your opponent maybe wings a shot, and I've taken some unpleasant shots. Although it wouldn't be as bad with a boxing glove on.
No. I used to do it with MMA gloves, so it was a little bit worse because they're not as big of a surface.
With a bare knuckle like that, it would be agonizing. It would be really fucking painful.
I 100% agree, by the way, with that. I always say a kind of a different version of it. Not necessarily that you don't know yourself if you've never been in a fight, but you don't really know who a person is unless you've fought them. I mean, I've done, jiu-jitsu for 16 years now. And there's people like when I roll with rolling is sparring in jiu-jitsu. And you could tell who a person really is when they're beating you, and depending on how much they keep putting the pressure on and hurting you, versus how much they pull back and all this stuff. Like, you can learn a lot about a person by fighting them. So I do agree with that sentiment.
Although another aspect of that is that fighting can change you. When you go into a gym for the first time, there's this idea that one that I disagree with, that sort of bravery or cowardice is innate, and it isn't. Bravery like physical bravery can be trained into a man the same way you can discipline a dog. You just need to train them, and the physical bravery will come, and you train the cowardice out of them. And that's one of the advantages. Like, that's what happened with me in a boxing gym. I started boxing because I had a horrible incident where I was attacked at a Halloween party, and I sort of thought, fuck that's never going to happen again. And I went, and I behaved like when I was attacked at the Halloween party, my reaction to it was cowardly, if I'm being honest. So I went to the boxing gym and I trained that out of myself. And if that happened today, it'd be a very different story. So fighting, it does tell you who you are, but you can change that, if you, and the movie shows that, like the narrator goes through a personality change, and fighting is a big part of that.
We're not at the part of the film yet, but they actually do talk about that, where most people will avoid fights. And I wouldn't necessarily say that's cowardice. That's generally actually the smartest thing to do, is to avoid some kind of physical confrontation.
If you can't fight, you shouldn't.
Yes. Even if you can, you probably shouldn't, because like you don't know, like especially in like the United States, there's a lot of people who just have guns, and or in other places where stabbings are very, so like it's actually very stupid to engage in a fight unless it's a last resort. And that is true, though, everything you just said, where you can, so cowardice versus bravery is just how you react to fear. Fear is an innate trait. It's an innate quality. You will always feel fear. It's a matter of how you deal with it, is what that is.
Other thing that when I was watching this movie, I can't not think of it in these terms now. And they're in the fight club, and we see all the damage to their face, but they're fighting with bare knuckles. Everybody's hands would be broken.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You'd have metatarsal breaks. Your knuckles would be. I don't know if you've ever seen Sylvester Stallone's knuckles from when he played Rocky. They're completely flat. He doesn't have any like ridges. All their hands would be screwed up, and a lot of them have jobs that require, like, a lot of them are mechanics and stuff, so they would be out of work.
I've got ridges on one hand but not on the other, which probably tells you that.
What's the most anyone here has seen Fight Club? My personal estimation would be 100 minimum times time well spent. I think I've probably seen this movie at minimum in my life 50 times, probably closer to 100, because I used to watch it like weekly with my friend. I said earlier in the you talk about in 1 year you've watched it like 50 times at that point.
I've seen it a total of 3 times, I think.
I'd say probably 30-ish.
I've probably seen
this same as
20 times.
Yeah, I mean I'm definitely probably the exception to the rule with this particular movie.
What gives a movie rewatchability is the highlights. So I'll give you an example of a movie that I actually thought was quite good, but which I will never watch again. The Holdovers. I don't know if you've heard of that. It was a movie from last year.
Yep.
I didn't watch it. I've heard people say similar things to what I think you're about to say.
I've actually watched that about 3 times already.
Really?
I quite like it. Yeah, I quite like it.
It's a good movie, but for me, it doesn't have any highlights. Like, there's no great lines of dialogue. There's no great scenes. There's no great character interactions. There's no little moments to go back for. And it's kind of like an album where every song is just, it's kind of good. But there's no songs to go back for, or even moments or solos. And that's just what it's like in that movie. There's just nothing to go back for in the Holdovers.
I think what it's almost like you need an anchor point to want to get to in the film.
Well, it doesn't have anything that stands out as being particularly good, like particularly great, whereas that's just the entire movie of Fight Club from start to finish. It's just brilliant scene after brilliant scene after brilliant scene with all these amazing little moments peppered in every single scene and brilliant little details in every single scene. It is so deep. Like the excellence of this movie is just from start to finish. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. It really is.
A lot of high peaks and a very high floor.
Yeah, very, very high floor, tons of high peaks, and just no lows. Like there are no parts of this movie that I ever want to skip. Like even with great movies, like Return of the Jedi, who the fuck wants to watch the Ewoks? You know what I mean? That's just dumb. But I love that movie, right? But I could quite happily skip the Ewok nonsense. But with this movie, there's nothing I would ever want to skip. Not one scene.
Yeah, I could see that.
Palahniuk is great in this film. It's funny because when I went to go see Iron Claw, I was trying the whole time trying to figure out where I knew the guy from, and then when I rewatched Fight Club, I was like, "Shit, that's where I knew him from." It hit at that moment.
That was my favorite performance from 2023. Holt McCallany in the Iron Claw. Yeah. He was fucking excellent.
Richard, were you? I think I heard you start to say something in there, but it kind of got lost in the.
I was saying I was probably same as on his spot. I was saying about just 3 times with the Fight Club.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's still like most. That's still a good number. Like I said, I'm kind of weird. Like I used to essentially burn out VHS tapes when I was a little kid, so I would rewatch the same movies over and over again.
My grandfather and I did that with Zulu.
Yeah, nice.
We had to get a replacement. We burned out so much, got a replacement, and the color on the old one was just pale.
Man.
So I was also asking about the holdovers. I was just looking it up on my phone. I'd heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's the best part about the conversion to DVD was it was easier to physically break a DVD because it was only a disc, but the odds of you burning it out, like if you played a video over and over again, it would eventually wear down the tape inside.
Yeah. Tell you one thing is just, and this isn't specifically related to Fight Club, though Fight Club is part of it. The one thing that digital completely loses with by comparison to DVDs and Blu-rays is I love, like, when I turn a movie on, they have that little menu screen. It'll have scenes and music going. Fight Club had a great one. I even think The Matrix Reloaded had a really great one. That's probably the best thing about that movie is the menu screen.
Yeah, I've always said Matrix Reloaded.
Digital, you completely lose that.
Yeah,
Matrix Revolutions is a piece of shit, but Reloaded's okay.
Reloaded's okay, but I remember the DVD menu of that movie better than any scene in the movie. Funny enough.
Surprisingly, Nadia has seen this movie. Anybody out there who doesn't understand this joke, Nadia only recently saw like every movie in the
Terminator,
history of good Terminator, Aliens for the first time. So I am in constant arguments with her over how like it's possible to have not seen some of these things.
And, I was talking with my wife the other day, and last week I sat down with one of my kids to watch Matt Smith's Doctor Who, and she was telling me the other day it's the first time she's ever seen it. She's also never seen Star Wars, Star Trek, or Lord of the Rings. So we're going to remedy that, or she'll kick me out.
I was going to say, I'm pretty certain that you can actually get full custody and no alimony in a divorce for under those terms. Like if you brought that to a judge, they might.
Yeah. I mean, if she's not seen Lord of the Rings and we're in New Zealand, I'm pretty sure I get the house, the car.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. Like, I thought that was a requirement for being
national treasure.
A New Zealand citizen. Was you needed to have at least seen the Lord of the Rings films.
We literally we've
been to Hobbiton.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, like one of my adopted siblings, like literally the day we brought him home, the first thing we did was we had him watch Fellowship of the Ring.
I'm not the hugest I'm not the biggest Tolkien fan. I enjoy the movies, but I'm not the biggest Tolkien fan. But like, I still find it sacrilegious to be able to say like I haven't seen any of these. Like they were only up until recently the most obviously now awards don't matter, but the most awarded films of all time until recently.
Well, they still matter when they won them, eh? Yeah. Less so now.
We are back on Paper Street, and Paper Street just kind of looks like it came out of Scooby-Doo, man. From here, it just looks like Scooby-Doo. And then you have the mansion, of course. Which what do you guys think of the mansion's design?
I think calling it a mansion is a bit. This is a derelict at this point, but
this thing's so gross that a ghost wouldn't bother haunting this, and it'd be like, nah.
Like I can't even get any kind of. The house itself is scarier than any ghost that could possibly be in it, just because of all the disgusting. Like, there's no. If you lived in there for a day, you would have all sorts of fucking bloodborne parasites and shit. Yeah, you have to go back to those groups.
It's one of those unrealistic details of the movie. We talked about how if they were fighting like that in real life, they would all break their hands. Another thing is, if you were sleeping on these mattresses, the bed bugs would eat you alive, and you would wake up just utterly miserable and with literally hundreds of bites the next day. You'd have to go to the doctor, and you could never return to that house. But, it's a movie, and we can forgive those realistic little details not being there. And bear in mind as well, it is happening in the guy's head as well. So it could be that he goes to this squat and he gets eaten alive by bugs, but just doesn't realize it because he's crazy.
Yeah, the craziest part is that he still goes to work like normal work after. He probably smells so bad. It's crazy.
Well, they do show him he's still cleaning his clothes. At least he's got that going. One thing, so it's actually always stuck out to me. So he's spending all this time in that derelict house by himself, but there's something about that's always kind of been creepy to me. It's like he doesn't think he's alone, but as soon as you realize he's been alone in that house the whole time, it's like, and you rewatch those scenes, you're like, yeah, this is crazy on a different kind of level.
Yeah, it just adds a weird, disgusting layer to it. It's like, yikes! This is the lowest of the low, where you go when you can't get any help. And so they go back to Lou's Tavern, and they're in the parking lot, and that's where the Fight Club has kind of started to emerge. And this point, they're just taking care of each other, having fun. And
this is the part that I thought would be so much fun, is to just randomly hit golf balls wherever in the middle of the street, just breaking glass in various places. I was like, this would be really fun.
Yeah, because it's all like warehouses and shit. So they're breaking windows, but they wouldn't even be able to figure out where it was coming from because nobody's supposed to be living in that house. So.
And of course, this is where you have the boss that tries to confront him, where it's like, "Ooh, what's going on? You should take I think he says you should take the rest of the day off at this point." And even the blood on his shirt, like it's crazy because this dude, he's going to his normal blue collar job with all his bruises, with all his bruises and blood on his white shirts, and it's just cool.
I have a fun kind of story that is related to this. When I first started jiu-jitsu, obviously jiu-jitsu is a submission grappling art, and you use the gi to try to choke people. And the first time a lot of people do it, your skin is not particularly used to that kind of, like now, like I fought I fought probably about 15 people today, and there's not any bruises or anything on my face because your skin does toughen up. And but early on it doesn't. And I remember the first time I went to work after being gi choked, and I had this big bruise ring around my neck. And my boss called me into the office. I was working at I was working retail at the time, and we're like, "Did you try to kill yourself over the weekend? Like, what happened?" And I was like, "No." And I had to explain this whole weird thing, and they just stared at me. We're like, "You paid to do this? Like, what is that about?" And it was a very over the course of time, you don't get as many. Like, eventually he'd be toughened up to where you wouldn't see as many of these bruises and stuff.
So Jamie G says, "Love the scene and how the water drop is coordinated with the dropping of the paper." Yep, just hear the.
I only noticed that for the first time last night because I was listening with earbuds. But prior, I'd just been watching it on the TV all the other times. And if you're listening with earbuds, you'll notice it. You might not notice it on the TV, but when he picks up the papers and throws them down on the desk, as they hit the desk, you hear the eardrops coming from the next scene, which is him and Tyler in the toilet, I think.
Yeah, they're in the back. Well, Tyler's in the tub. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a wonderful little auditory transition.
Yeah, it was actually my first time finding it out as well when I was watching it this time, because I was watching it with earbuds too. And it kind of makes me fear that maybe watching stuff on my TV is making me miss little details like that. So
yeah, well, I mean, you're always going to, there's always going to be things that you miss no matter how you watch a movie.
That's true. That's true. And so they're discussing who they'd like to fight. And Tyler says that he'd like to fight his dad. And original Tyler says that he'd like to fight his boss. And
original Tyler.
Yeah, original Tyler says he'd like to fight his boss. And interestingly enough, he says that he doesn't know his dad. So
this is a conversation where the dialogue is very cleverly written, because like he'll say one thing, he'll be like, that sounds familiar. And like the one that I thought was pretty clever was he was like, he said his dad said, I don't know, get married. And he's like, you can't get married and everything. It's like he's literally answering, something that Tyler said. And I'm like, yeah, that's where I started the first time I watched this to think, are they the same guy? Maybe is that what's going on here?
This is one of the
very interestingly written.
There's these strategically placed scenes that if you are paying close enough attention, you can put it together before it's revealed. I was too young at the time to realize that the first time I saw it, but if I saw this today, I'd probably pick up on it a lot sooner. I might still not, but I think I'd be less surprised.
I think if I had seen this movie the first time in '99 when it came out, I probably would not have picked up on it. I think it's because The Sixth Sense came out and then Unbreakable soon after, and a lot of movies started to want to do the twist ending thing, and it made audiences, or at least some people like myself, kind of key in on certain things. No, it's like, okay, is there going to be some kind of twist here or whatever? I wasn't necessarily looking for that in Fight Club, but that's where I started to think, that's interesting how that was. And I started to just kind of, hone my senses for that kind of thing. So it's the downside is it's kind of hard for a movie to shock me with a twist because it's a lot of them hide in plain sight.
Yeah, a ton of them are
not hiding very well. But I think if I watched this in '99, I would not have caught it.
Yeah. I'm not saying he wouldn't have any marking. I'm just saying he would toughen up to the point where it wouldn't be quite as noticeable. He'd be able to and also he'd be getting better at fighting, so it would be less noticeable as well because of that.
And so yeah, man, I like this bathroom conversation. Just ton of rewatchability once again. And it's finally time to go to the Fight Club. And I thought that this dude was Thomas Jane at first, weirdly enough, because he really looks like him, man. It kind of like Thomas Jane in one of those movies where he doesn't
look like Thomas Jane himself. If he got cast as Wolverine.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is really Old Man Logan.
Yeah, like this dude could totally play Old Man Logan, 100%.
He's put on a little muscle, but yeah.
And so yeah, we're finally at the official first underground Fight Club, and I do have the clip, so let me play that.
Every week, Tyler gave the rules that he and I decided.
Gentlemen, welcome to Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. Third rule of Fight Club, someone yells stop, goes limp, taps out. The fight is over. Fourth rule, only two guys to a fight. Fifth rule, one fight at a time, fellas. Sixth rule, no shirts, no shoes. Seventh rule, fights will go on as long as they have to. If this is your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight.
You know, it's kind of weird when you think that this is supposed to be Edward Norton doing it, because I don't think that Edward Norton has like the physical presence of Brad Pitt to, you know, kind of rally people to make a fight club. You know, it's weird when you think about it like that.
I think he could. I think that it's a more about personality and how you carry yourself. If Norton was carrying himself as Tyler was there, I think people would, yeah, they'd follow him. I think he could lead that and get people fired up. It's just because when you look at him in the movie, you can't imagine that little office geek doing that. But if he were to go into Tyler mode, yeah, he could do it.
So you do make a good point.
I don't know. I mean, Brad Pitt is just a lot of charisma, and he's walking even in other roles. So maybe, anyway, it's probably a lot for Edward Norton to ever do. I mean, he's a solid actor, but you know, Brad Pitt is just walking charisma. He could well inspire people to do stuff.
I'm gonna throw this one up there, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this into I'll put the 3 categories that he brings up in the chat, and I think at the end of the stream, if we can all kind of come up with our own little list of these, so it's Simon Pattinson asking us if you could fight any celebrity, who would we fight? So I'm gonna put the 3 that he comes up with in the private chat, and we'll talk about it at the end.
All right, sure. And yeah, I really like this shot of Edward Norton, man. Let me put this on full screen. I think this looks really good. It looks like a 1960s French film.
Yeah,
you know,
it really does.
The dude at the cafe. This is just it. And yeah, so this is where we kind of get the nod from the waiter, where you finally realize that basically everyone is in Fight Club at this point. It's really crazy how everyone in their vicinity is basically just a member of Fight Club, and how he keeps growing, which of course will be addressed by Brad Pitt pretty soon, actually. And yeah, so it changes their way of thinking. You know, they're sizing up people, thinking of who they can fight in trains and stuff like that. Dark Hour, when you, and well, of course, Despot as well, since you guys have both done combat. When you guys first started getting into, you know, jiu-jitsu or boxing, did you start
I did Muay Thai as well.
Muay Thai, so yeah. And so did you guys start sizing up people, like whenever you went in a train or something, you're like, I could probably take this guy?
I started when I was like 19, so yes, a younger version of me would do that. Nowadays, I know that's just fucking stupid, because it's like I don't know shit about that person. But yeah, I think it is a natural occurrence in your brain when you start learning how to actually fight, to be like, oh, I wonder how many people on this fucking train I can beat the shit out of. You know, like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if the same thing for you, Despot, but
I actually did Muay Thai for a year as well. Just 1 year though. But I did. I would size people up like when I was still single, going to bars and clubs to try to pick up women. To be honest, well, what the hell else would I go there for? So that's what I was doing, and often I would just go by myself because it was just more efficient. And when you're hanging out with a large group, it moves too slowly, and I would get bored. So sometimes, because I'm quite small, I'm only 5'8" and I weigh about 130 pounds, and guys would often they would square up to me. This must have happened about a dozen times in total. They would get in my face, and usually it was they would try to get me to back down or back off because I was talking to a girl, or they would just start on me because I guess they were trying to impress their friends, or they were trying to impress a girl. And I would size them up then. But what I found was interesting, every single occasion I didn't back down. I got very, very aggressive very quickly. Not physically aggressive, but I made it very clear to them that if they didn't fuck off, we were going to have to fight. Like we were going to start fighting. And every single occasion they backed off, but usually with a face-saving comment. They'd say something like, "Oh, fuck you, man," and then they'd walk off.
That's usually the last.
What I found out is that when you actually stand your ground, and when you really are prepared to fight, because I really was prepared to fight if that's what it came to. I wasn't going to back down to these wankers that were trying to rank up on me. They'll back off. They will. 98% of the time. And the guys that won't back off, they were going to fight you anyway, no matter what you did.
Yep.
So the closest thing I won't tell like a super long version of the story, but I was in college. I was in one of those big lecture halls, and I was at the top of the lecture hall, and somebody said something real stupid, and I was sarcastic version that I am. I like made a joke about it, and he heard me, and it wasn't like anything like crazy. I didn't like call. I just said it was like I just said something along the lines like, "Dude, that's real weird." Like that you said that, and you know, so I was clearly talking about Vance. That's what I was talking about. It was very weird, but and he walked his ass up at the end of class. He walked his ass all the way up the lecture hall and got right in my face. He was a little taller than me, so he was one step down, but those steps were relatively small, and like wanted to fight me. And I just calmly explained to him that he was in a really shitty place, like physically. I was like, if we started fighting, you're gonna fall a lot down this lecture hall stairs, and I don't feel like going to prison for putting you in the hospital because of gravity. And he stopped and thought about that for about 10 seconds and just kind of walked away, because like he realized he was at that moment he realized he was in a really I was in a really advantageous, he was in a real disadvantageous position. And that's probably the most unique way I avoided a fight, was explaining to him that I quite literally played the I have the high ground card.
That's not what I don't think that's why I mean, I would guess that it's the psychological aspect of it. Once he realized he couldn't intimidate you and that he really was going to have to either put up or shut up, he just decided to shut up.
Yeah, it was
your reaction. It was your reaction that got him. Because even if you had have said, "Look, man, we can't fight here, but if you want to step outside, no problem, let's go," you would have seen the same thing. He just would have walked off.
Hail Daxonar Zero. And apparently I have a very punchable face, according to Amelia Bedelia. It's been punched many a time, so Keanu Reeves, you'd probably die.
Yeah, you'd probably Keanu Reeves would probably kill you at this point, dude. I don't know.
I've heard nothing but great things about Keanu Reeves. Every person I've ever, because he's in New York City all the time, and multiple people I know have just run into him on the subway and always just said the greatest things about him.
So Adam Driver started his own fight club before he was famous. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of based, man. I'd fight Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice.
You know, it's funny because you know who's one of like the toughest celebrities there is actually it's somebody you'd never expect. It's Ed O'Neill. Al Bundy is one of the toughest motherfuckers.
Me at all. That doesn't surprise me at all.
He was one of the first celebrity jiu-jitsu black belts. If you can actually see when he started taking it up in Married with Children, because he was kind of pudgy. He was a former football player, so he was a strong, relatively big guy, but he was kind of pudgy in the earlier seasons. And then you could see, I think it's like season 3 or 4, he started training, and all of the clothes that they had from the props department and stuff didn't fit him right anymore. So he looks like it's like all really baggy on him. They had to eventually change it, but you could see that he was a much different looking person. And that was when he started.
So you're saying that's how he upgraded from his first wife to Gloria?
Yeah, basically.
Well played.
And of course, look, ladies and gentlemen, we have Brad Pitt shirtless on screen. This is an anomaly.
Look, this scene doesn't make you gay if you like look at it too long. It's like, I don't know. If it doesn't make you gay, I'm not sure.
So they kind of have this obsession with Fight Club now. It's their thing, and Tyler sometimes speaks for him. Which is another clue, and of course he fell down a flight of stairs. Now, I think they specified that this call is 8 weeks later, so he hasn't been going to the meetings for 8 weeks at this point. So from when he meets Tyler to this point, it's 8 weeks in, which I think is kind of quick for the Fight Club to have happened. I mean, really, really quick. But I do like the way that the movie shows passage of time. They always say it, and it does take, I think it's over the course of 2 whole years, the movie, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Jesus.
Jason Statham with hair or without hair? That's the question.
When did he ever have hair?
He used to have he when he was a diver.
Yeah,
when he was barely good enough to be in the Olympics diver, which is why he became an actor instead.
So after having some wildly imaginative sex, he wakes up thinking that it was just a dream, but hey, it wasn't. So he got laid. But he
got some fucked up friends.
Yep.
Limber,
But
though.
he isn't too ranged, you know. So when he sees Marla Singer in the house with him, he's kind of shocked and just kicks her out. Which, I mean, rightfully so. If you just think that she's there for no reason and kind of broke into your house to stalk you or something. But we do get a flashback to how she got there, and it's Tyler that picked up the phone and went to her place, got her out, and took her back to the dilapidated mansion.
She looks like she's about to rob your house or something to sell for meth.
I love when the cops show up and she starts yelling about how terrible of a person she is.
Yep.
She's a menace.
Just as she's about to off herself to after taking I don't know how many pills.
Well, she said she took a whole bottle.
Which took what was left of a bottle of Xanax.
Yeah, so if it was, and I think it's Xanax, correct? That's what she said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you're probably looking at like I said earlier, a lot of times those medications, they can only prescribe you so much in a certain amount of time. So you're probably looking about like anywhere between 20 and 40 pills she took.
And Brad Pitt looking fresh as always in the back, dude. Tyler is looking like the costume design absolutely nailed Tyler's coolness, man. I think he's really well dressed, and it's also distinctively dressed too in comparison to like the color palette of the movie. That's what I like.
There's also a good line to kind of fool the audience here because, okay, if you would expect that, after you learn the twist that when she sees Tyler, she would recognize him. But her line is she just kind of looks at him. She's like, "Did I call you?" And it's like that's not it's like that line still works perfectly fine if it is Ed Norton that she's seeing. It's just it works to misdirect the audience there because we're seeing Brad Pitt there and like, oh, I didn't think they'd ever interact. It's like, well, as far as we know, they haven't.
Yep. That's true. That's a fair point.
Well, it's also I've always just kind of taken it as she's like high off her ass at that
point.
Oh
no, that's the reason.
Yeah.
That's
why she can't. She's like, I'm not sure if I even actually called you.
Yeah, she hasn't seen him in weeks, so she's so confused that it makes perfect sense for her to say that to Ed Norton, but it's also a good way of misdirecting because it makes sense to you at first glance that yeah, that makes sense. She would say that to him. She's never seen him before.
Yep. And yeah, she says some weird stuff in bed, man.
Shit that came out of this woman's mouth I never heard.
My God, I haven't been fucked like that since grade school.
That's maybe my favorite line in the movie.
I love the way Brad looks at the
his
camera.
little ick is like I'm like little piece of personal trivia. The very first video I ever put together on my channel had that little soundbite.
There was
Despot,
another line.
You were about to say the same thing that I was about to say. So go ahead.
What was that? Oh well, there was another. Line
it's a different. It was like an alternative take or a different version of.
They had a couple of lines, but one of them they deleted. I remember because I watched the DVD extras, and one of the deleted lines was, "I want to have your abortion."
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lord.
And she says, "I want to have your aborted babies." And I was like, "Jeez,
Jesus."
I don't know if they took that one out because the studio told them, "Nah, man, we're not going there. We're not going."
Yeah,
they said they were uncomfortable with that line, so she went with that one. I was like, "That was the okay one, huh?" All right.
Well, that one's way better. Like, I want to have your abortion. It's a good line, but it's not as good as "I haven't fucked like that since grade school." That is a great line.
And it's also like the way that it goes down too, because you have Brad Pitt. He kind of looks at the camera while he's laying down in the bed, and then you just have him at the end. It's like, yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's like he does that like side eye thing where he's like, "Did she really just fucking say that?" I got a couple of supers I want to get to real quick. I'll do this one first because it just popped up. RRT and Z for 20 New Zealand dollars. I don't know the conversion rate on that, but thank you. Fighting in pubs is for morons. Haven't punched anyone in the face outside of a dojo in 30 years, and I'm proud of it. But I do approve of dueling with swords. Chuck Norris can punch you so hard you bleed someone else's blood. And I had one other one from before.
I was
going to say this one.
A sword duel would be pretty cool.
Yeah, but you can only do it if you slap somebody in the face with a glove beforehand. You have to. And most Sizzlack for Fortnite. Yeah, for $4.99. Did any of you catch Mindhunter on Netflix? I did not. We'll see.
Yes, I did.
Hoping for Fincher would do season 3.
I watched it.
Thank you for your super.
I watched the first 2 seasons. I can't. How many seasons is there?
2. That's it.
I'm guessing that. I'm guessing 2 because he said he's hoping for 3.
And I thought it was pretty good, but I admit that I was losing interest near the end because
the second season,
yeah, the first season's definitely better. The second season kind of just meanders, and it's honestly just gets boring. And it's almost like it's trying to develop a central cast and turn it into kind of like a sitcom almost. But it kind of the wheels came off a bit in the second season.
Yeah, I think the latter half of the second season is probably the weakest of the entire series. I just think that it's very slow, and plus the story doesn't have a, how do I say this, a satisfying conclusion the way the first season's one does.
If there was a third season, I don't think I'd bother unless I had to watch it for a stream. But I'm checked out of it basically.
Yep, but Mindhunter is good, man. I recommend the first season, kind of like True Detective, where you just recommend the first season. It's like, yep, it's probably some really good television. And,
I agree with that.
And so now they're having sex everywhere, and it is making a bunch of noise to the point where Edward Norton can't sleep. And I don't know, man. This part is kind of where it kind of, it's not takes me out, but it's
confusing as shit. This sequence to this day, I'm trying to figure out when he's who. And it's like, is he up there with Marla and envisioning himself downstairs being annoyed
while having sex? I don't know.
Or is he downstairs and envisioning himself as Tyler? I've never quite been able to put this scene.
Well, I think it's very clearly he's actually doing it. So yeah, I think it's just this is just part of his brain existing at the same time, and hating himself for doing this.
This is the way he thinks to last longer. He imagines himself hearing himself through.
That's actually not a terrible way of looking at it. I do find it funny though that this is one of the various scenes where he has to go down and kill the power
by himself,
and it's like in a like 3 feet of water. he's like messing with
it's always in 3 feet of water, always. So weird. They never turn it off when there's no water.
I don't think that the water ever drains. I think that's what it is. It's always down there.
Jesus.
You would need to put for something like that, you'd need to put a very large sump pump in to drain that. It's not just going to drain naturally.
Oh man. And so his boss at this point basically just tells him to go home and take the weekend off to kind of relax. And because he's smoking in the office, he's covered in blood, he's covered in bruises. And rule number 1 and 2 of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. So, yep. Now on the phone we have this is the detective. Well, is he a detective or is he just a police officer?
Yeah, he's a detective. Yeah,
detective.
I think he's a detective with the arson unit specifically. He says.
So
he's like fire police. It's like you'd see on like that car.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
L.A. Noir. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Yeah.
So he basically informs him that the pilot light might have gone out in his apartment and it just blew, and that's kind of the conclusion that they're at this point. And yeah.
Oh no! Are you sure? No, this isn't that. That was the original assertion that he has earlier in the movie. That when they first explained that it blew up. This
sure
point,
it's not at this point?
Yes, this point is when they say the dynamite, and he goes dynamite.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, this is where he's telling him that like Freon was sprayed.
Freon was sprayed into the lock, and then Tyler in the background says, "Go ahead, tell them what they want to hear. Tell them you blew it up." That's this scene. This is one of the few movies where I could have actually probably done the narration.
Well, Dark Hour, take it away. Take it away.
I mean, if you want, I will. I just don't know what the next slide is, unfortunately. So it ends up being like surprising me always.
You're discovering the slides with me, dude. Don't worry, don't worry. Out of memory, sometimes I forget all of these. But yeah. So Helena Bonham Carter comes out to grab his crotch and make him feel uncomfortable for a couple of seconds, and then she fucks off. That's kind of it.
Chuck Norris, RRTNZ, Chuck Norris can talk about Fight Club.
Yeah, Chuck Norris
I don't think
is
she's
the
coming
only
out
dude
here to
like
mess
that.
with him. I mean, we got to from her perspective, she just had sex with this guy.
Yeah,
So
like she just
she's
thinks
kind of
she's
trying
flirting.
to. Yeah, she's trying to be flirtatious, and
Yeah,
he's
but from
just
our
being
perspective, this is just pure harassment.
yeah, it's like wow, it's like she's doing that, and then he's being a dick to her. It's really interesting to watch it one way the first time, and then you rewatch it, you're like, oh wow, this is weird.
Even
This
his
is
own
messed up.
mind creates this barrier that he can't cross because he specifically states, "Don't talk about me" to Marla, being Tyler. And
in a way, you
so
could argue that's probably why these two parts of his brain can function simultaneously when he's with her, is because it's like he's with her, but at the same time, it's like the Tyler part saying he can't talk about me to her.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a safeguard.
So
that
in the world.
Yeah, we're
We're
breaking into the lipo section. Oh, dude,
That's a great line. Where are we?
Lipo clinic. It's such a great line, dude. It's the way that Brad Pitt delivers it too, like under the stress. It's like, oh man.
When he like playfully hops into the dumpster and he just grabs, it's like, pay dirt. It's like, what the heck?
And so they decide to use it to make soap because
you didn't show where like the fat got caught on the barbed wire. It's like,
and they're trying to catch it. I'm like, no.
It's
Dude,
so
the worst
gross.
part is that he's still trying to grab it with his hands. Like, dude,
well,
no.
I don't think. Well, he's not. So yes, the vision we're seeing, but you got to remember. So it's the narrator is the one throwing the bags over, and Tyler's on the other side. So he's at that point. It only makes sense that he'd be envisioning himself catching it because it doesn't work the other way. There's certain ones that you could piece together that he could only be one of the two of them. And in that case, he has to be the one throwing it. So he's not the one trying to catch it.
And we finally get to the chemical burn scene, and I love the way that the chemical burn is set up. He's like, "What is this? Oh, chemical burn.
Chemical
Done."
burn.
It's like, oh, yikes! And man, what do you guys think about the chemical burn scene?
I mean, as a person who's had a who's had a chemical burn, not to the extent that they do, they are fucking terrible. Like that's because it's a literal chemical reaction on your skin that can't easily be put out. So
Yeah,
it's not like a regular.
It's not just with water or anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Water would actually make it worse because
make it worse. Yeah.
Well, when you whenever you use any kind of acidic anything, you should never dilute water into acid. You should always do it in reverse because what happens is it actually it increases the reaction if you put water into acid. So.
And,
it's real good.
Say again?
Probably one of the 2 or 3 most memorable scenes in the whole film, and it's bloody good.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. Oh, and so he gets burnt and he goes through it. He does it on you have to neutralize it with vinegar, and he goes through it on his own terms, and that's so. At the end of the movie, like we know that he did all of this stuff alone, which is just absolutely insane, man. The composure that this dude had to give himself this big of a chemical burn alone was just like Jesus. That just goes to show you how far he's gone. And of course, they're selling their prestigious soap for $20 a bar. And God knows how much they get resold for. Probably really expensive. I'm telling you, man, this dude is probably making they're probably making $100 or $200 off just that one bar of soap because it's some excellent soap.
This is also a very high-end department store, so they could get away with selling it for however much they wanted.
That's for sure. Yep. And now you have the narrator that's kind of, I guess, threatening his boss. Yeah, you could say that this is sort of a threat, the way that he does it, insinuating that he's going to go in and shoot up the office just because of...
The song that they play during this scene is actually from Starcraft.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the Zerg sound. Yeah, it's and I've always found that amazing. I was like, of all the things to choose, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I remember hearing this the first time, and I was like, "Is that the Zerg music? That's awesome!"
Yeah, from the original
one of my
Starcraft
favorite games. Yeah.
No, I never realized that, dude.
Yeah,
And,
OG Starcraft. It's great.
And so, Marla Singer right now is scared because she thinks that she might have breast cancer. So she asked him to inspect if she has any lumps, which she does not. And there's nothing that they bring back up again. I don't know. I thought that they would have brought it back up like eventually.
Well, the scene has a point. It has a point.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, for one thing, like this is the first time you see her genuinely vulnerable.
Yep.
I mean, like even the tone of her voice is, much softer and like kind of worried. And even like he's uncomfortable, but he's still pretty kind to her for the most part. And I think this is kind of that first scene where like he starts to soften towards her a little bit. I'd also say this scene, she looks particularly pretty. I'd say this is one scene where I was like, oh, she's actually kind of hot.
Bob, we meet Bob again. Bob is out here. He's chilling. He's enjoying life. He's joined the Fight Club, and he's not there every day. I think so. Tyler goes in on Saturdays, and Bob goes in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if I remember correctly. And
that catches the narrator off guard because he's not even aware that there's a fight club going on at that time.
Yeah, it's kind of like the beginning of the dissociation between Tyler and him, where Tyler is going off and doing his really doing his own stuff right now and not telling original Tyler anything. And so yeah, man, Bob is chilling. Meatloaf is out here winning some fights, dude. I mean, poor Bob. Yeah.
He looks pretty happy.
Yeah, he was happy for a while. And then they shot Bob. They shot Bob in the back of the head. It's the exact opposite of they shot Marvin in the face, dude. Shot Bob in the back of the head.
Despot, were you about to say something?
No.
Oh, I thought it looked like you had that look on your face, like you were like going.
No.
And of course, we have one of the most ironic lines ever delivered in any movie ever by Brad Pitt. I guess I'll play the clip and then we can talk about it.
Look around. I see a lot of new faces. Shut up. Which means a lot of you have been breaking the first two rules of Fight Club. I see all this potential. And I see it squandered. God damn it, an entire generation pumping gas, waiting tables, slaves with white collars. Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate so we can buy shit we don't need. We have no great war, no great depression. Our great war is a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. We're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off.
Yeah, Brad Pitt of all people saying that last line.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, beautiful.
That's such an amazing monologue, though. It captures it's such a zeitgeist monologue. It's pure late 90s. Noel Gallagher has a great quote. He said the 90s was the last great decade. And he was right. It was the last great decade. And since then, people in the West have gotten poorer. I'll give you an example of that. The average Briton today is still less well off than before the financial crisis of 2008. And that's without that's just in terms of earning. That's without taking into account the increased cost of living. Like Britain is quickly approaching a second world country status. Like it really is in the toilet. And I know that life in America has gotten harder recently with massive increases in groceries and gas and things like that over the past few years, and housing costs as well. So you look here and it's like all this generation of men had to worry about was sort of their place in the world, and they weren't famous enough, and they just had their job, but they weren't satisfied because, well, what could they do with their money? They could spend it on shit, just disposable shit. And it's almost like it's such Daniel B says an elimination of the middle class. But back then, there really was enough of a large middle class. Like you could have a decent life by just holding down a job. Like now, forget about it. But back then, that was the sort of Gen X crisis of Like I said, you saw the same thing in American Beauty. Like you've got a job, you're living in this beautiful house, you got a family, and your biggest problem is that you can't fuck your daughter's school friend. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of attitude.
It was also the 90s was also kind of a unique crossroad of it was a generation of men who didn't really have a major war that was going on at the time in America, at least. Like we had a couple of small, things, but there wasn't any, obviously you had World War II, the greatest generation, whatever you want to call it, and then the Vietnam era, and then the men of the 90s were kind of the children of the Vietnam vets, so there wasn't really any massive major war. And then obviously going into the 2000s we had the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, so it was definitely a weird time where there wasn't necessarily a need for the warrior as much that had been needed up until that point. And I could see kind of where this would go. Consumerism was taking over that thought process.
Well, it's the same year as the second Woodstock, and that's if you watched the documentary on that any year, that shows.
Tell you what, that is a fucking great documentary. You talking about the Netflix documentary?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
the Gulf War wasn't really that wasn't a massive war. We didn't have a draft.
No, it ended. That ended very quickly, and
that wasn't like
take exactly that many losses.
Yeah, like I'm talking about a war where there was a massive like where there was either a draft or a massive push to enlist, which is what happened in the 2000s with both the Iraq and Afghanistan war. It wasn't a draft, but there was this massive push for like all men need to get into this. Like we really need to fight this. The Gulf War didn't have that. The conflicts of the 90s were much smaller conflicts.
Richard, what were you saying about Woodstock?
They were things that we could have either.
Well,
say again. I'm sorry.
I mean, much like they're saying that it was the biggest band at the time. That was Lincoln as not Lincoln Park, bloody
Blink 182.
Red Durst. What's his band?
Oh, Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit, and they're just angry, and it was an angry time. A lot of people were there's a lot of disillusionment around people in the night, and I mean, I think I'm probably the oldest person here, and I remember that a bit. I mean, a lot of people were like, well,
I'm not sure. I'm actually starting to question how old Gord King is, because every time he talks, he's like, yeah, I was like 20 back this time, and I was like, I thought you were younger.
41.
So yeah, I am the oldest. My joints can definitely back it up when I get up. Yeah, but people were just like, it was a generation of people who were just angry. They had the pathways that the parents have had. They really started to close down that people don't have now, and that was a great example of it. And cracking documentary as well. Absolutely amazing documentary.
If you want to watch a really good documentary, check out Woodstock 99 on Netflix. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
It's about because they tried to reboot and revive the Woodstock Festival, and it was 30 years after the famous 1969 where they had Jimi Hendrix and everything, and it was a massive fucking disaster, and it completely killed the Woodstock brand.
Oh yeah, I've already seen a ton of videos about Woodstock 99, but I didn't know that there was a proper full-length documentary.
Watch it, man. It's great.
Yeah, it's like a 3-parter. I think
that's partially because they were trying to. So the original Woodstock did sell tickets, but the amount of people who were there's so many. It had become a cultural event that didn't even pay for itself, and to turn it into such a commercialized, we're trying to turn this into a brand. That wasn't the point of the original Woodstock, and so when you try to turn something into a brand that you can have a continuous thing, that goes against what the point of the original one was. It's never going to work.
Yep. And,
but I don't agree with the Gallaghers very much, but they're bloody right saying that the 90s was the last great generation. It was. That's what they used to the Gallaghers say. Yeah.
Yeah, no Gallagher. The 90s was the last great decade.
That's a great picture.
It's like a Renaissance painting. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
that's that is your greatest still shot in the history of this show.
So you have Lou from Lou's Tavern, of course, who's there because the barman with whom we said was Wolverine before, he's in the hospital with a broken collarbone, or he's resting in his house. And so Lou is here to, oversee his property, and he just finds a bunch of dudes underground fighting, which is kind of weird. So he visibly gets angry and attacks Brad Pitt, and after getting beaten to a pulp, Brad Pitt kind of zombie jumps on him and spits blood at his face, and it's just kind of nasty. And yeah, Lou's reaction is warranted, man. Lou's reaction is pretty good. He kind of just wants to puke and leave, and that's what they do. They leave, and after this is when Tyler begins to give out assignments to his fellow Fight Club members. And so the first assignment is try and pick a fight and lose. So this is what we were talking about before, Dark Hour. Like trying to pick a fight. Just so
and the shoe is the greatest thing there. Just go. And the priest. I love this.
I think it's the funniest part of the movie.
It's that, like, the physical comedy in this part is great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of physical comedy in this movie. I won't call it slapstick because slapstick has connotations of kind of childishness and dated humor. I wouldn't call it slapstick. Yeah, I would call it just physical humor, and the physical humor in this movie with Brad Pitt's the best at it, like his little movements. But this part as well, this is really funny.
Well, because you got to think, if you're actually trying to start a fight that you intend to lose, it's a very awkward thing. So yeah, how else could it come off as just than pure comedy? And they play it up so well because these people do not want to fight them.
And I love the perspective that Fincher uses as well. He shows it from a distance, almost like a third party is watching this bizarre guy trying to start fights.
Who's the guy with the house who's there in the white singlet? Because he's been
he was in Mindhunter, basically. He was in the first 2 seasons. He's one of the main characters on Mindhunter.
Yeah, a lot of Fincher reuses a lot of actors, so I'm not shocked by that.
Yeah, like this dude. He's been in a ton of stuff. His name is Holt McCallany.
Yeah, it's Holt McCallany. Yeah,
McCallany.
Yeah.
And it's weird because he's been in a ton of stuff, but he's also been in like a ton of bad stuff. But he's been in a ton of good stuff. One of my favorite roles that he has is it's kind of like a small role, but it's in the movie Shot Caller. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Shot Caller is a fantastic film with I think his name is Nicholas Coster-Waldau, the dude that plays Jamie Lannister. Absolutely fantastic film about the American prison system and how you can go in as a kind of innocent person and leave there a drug kingpin. It's a really good movie, and he's in it too. So if you haven't seen Shot Caller, or do definitely recommend it. It's probably Jamie Lannister's best performance ever. Dude should have.
I always love when somebody has a role they're so well known for that people just call them that instead of their real name.
His last name's kind of changed. I would also recommend, if you haven't seen it, Headhunters. He's really good.
Oh yeah, Headhunters is a really good movie. Yep. And yeah. So the Fight Club is booming. Everything is going great. And this is the assignment.
Was that the priest, by the way, who was hugging there? Is that the priest?
I think the priest is. I think that is the priest. Yeah.
It looks like
just without his glasses and stuff. So like he looks significantly different because he's not wearing any of his priest garb.
It's definitely the same actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they didn't want to use him as the priest, or that's why they removed his glasses and stuff like that. But I don't know.
You would take your glasses off for a fight anyway.
I think he picked the fight with him, and they got him to Fight Club. That's just how I took it. Is he came to Fight Club, and now he's having this experience. Like, oh, this is so great. It's like a revival.
The divine power, dude. It's like, have you guys ever seen the bodybuilder priest? I don't know if you've heard of him. But this dude used to like pull trucks and everything, man. It's crazy. If you see him, it's like, my God. And so this is basically the assignments that have been given. So you got power outage at a local mall, a fountain befouled, missing monkeys found shaved. We see them, breaking some stuff, kind of just fucking around with everyone. in some
basically it's like mischief night all year round for them.
Yeah,
just
basically
making a mockery of these things that beautify our society, or that we
well,
have
that's
on
it's
display.
the crimes sort of, and this is actually exactly where it starts to take a turn. But up until a certain point, the crimes for the most part are kind of benign. They're not anything that's really particularly destructive up front.
Yeah.
Then it snowballs, and this is kind of the turning point where you see that Tyler's not fucking around.
But you know, I'm 100% sure this dude went to go get his medical license after this. Yeah, he's 100% working towards it, because yeah, for those of you who haven't seen the scene, Tyler, he goes to the gas station, gets this dude out, holds him at gunpoint, and asks him if he's happy with his life at this point. Hey, FC man, how you doing? Yep, we are breaking the first 2 rules of Fight Club right now, and we're soon gonna break the rules of Project Mayhem. And so yeah, and what he does is he tells him that he should go continue and pursue his education and follow his dream, and that's the motivation that he gives him. Which, I mean, you know, that's one way to motivate someone. But
man, it's like, think of your life goal as life and death. It's like, it's like go do that thing you were intent on doing. Don't let anything stand in your way, Raymond.
That goes with the
not only that. I love how he's like, what did you study? Stuff.
Stuff.
Were the midterms hard?
And yeah, so this is one of the rare. I think this is the second proper instance of fourth wall breaking where you can just see the film. Now, this is where Brad Pitt is just directly talking to the audience, where the camera's shaking. The film itself is kind of just messing up and burning, and yeah, what do you guys think about this weird snippet that happens?
I think this is a very specific break in the narrator's, Tyler's psyche. Like, this is what that ultimately represents. Is that this is a very specific break in the psyche.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he's seen in his head. Essentially, it's a little snippet of the Tyler fantasy speaking to him in his own head. It's kind of he's seen this,
and it plays off of the fact that Tyler was working as a projectionist and doing these kind of things anyway. So he's using what he knows about Tyler, what he does as a job, or at least he used to, and it's becoming part of that. I mean, you're about to find out he's been doing the job all along, but. You know, I always love this this as a transitional point, because it's almost like the not only is he snapping, but like this is literally what it looks like when an old school film reel breaks. It like when it snaps, you see it like flare off on the side, and it's pretty well done in that sense.
And also, Tyler's very, I mean, what I don't consider that a fourth wall break, because that's just Tyler speaking to the narrator he's speaking to the mind's eye of the narrator. And when the narrator first sees Tyler, he begins to glimpse him. He glimpses him at a distance or for one frame at a time. But now Tyler is right there in the center of his mind, which is what makes this such a perfect transition point. It's that visual cue. He's far away.
I think actually
and he gets closer and closer and closer, and then the guy breaks and Project Mayhem starts.
I think that it's actually brilliant in the sense that you can perceive it as what you just said, or as a fourth wall break, and he's talking to you, the audience, directly. I think that's the brilliance of the way it's shown, because
because this is where he's kind of saying that you're not defined by your car, you're not defined by this, you're not defined by that. So yeah, I guess you could see that way as well, and of
I
course,
really like my car though, so I wanted to talk about
it. And Marla Singer is back once again. The parasite, Edward Norton's parasite is back, and this time I think he's trying to get her to just fuck off basically, and tell her that her and Tyler are done. But she's not really taking the hint, so she keeps coming back. And this is where we get our first Project Mayhem recruits. For those of you who watch From, this is the dad from. Yeah, Yeah, from. Yeah. So yeah, Nadia, I know you. I don't know if you're still in the chat, but yeah, this is the dad.
I haven't seen her for a little bit. I think she just popped in to say hi.
I was kind of shocked, man. It's only when I was looking up the actors on IMDb that I was like, damn, all right, it's this dude. So yeah, so what they have to do is they have to survive 3 days of being hurled insults, I guess. That's kind
well,
of
and also the fact that they have
too.
to stand in place. They can't eat, sleep, drink water. There's a lot of psychological shit going on here. This is similar to this is like a breaking thing.
Yeah, we're kind of just getting.
Anybody think that they could pull it off? I know for a fact I couldn't. My back.
No, I could not stand outside for 72 hours. I think only a tiny percent. It's another one of those aspects of the movie that it wouldn't work like that in real life if you had a bunch of guys. I mean, do you think Bob could stand outside for 72 hours? So no, that's ridiculous. Only a tiny percentage of men would actually be able to do this.
Yeah. If I stand in place for like extended period of time, I have like severe nerve flares in my lower back. I'd just be like, after about 3 hours, I'd be like, nah, I'm done. See you later.
Yeah, and so
no one's gonna make it to 72 hours.
It's like, sorry, I am my khakis. I'm out of here.
I think that a person could make 24 hours.
I think 24 is doable.
Yeah.
24 is doable.
24.
Yeah, 72 is absurd, but again, that's part of the sort of hyper reality of Fight Club.
Yep, that's kind of it. And
also,
it's a lot harder to stay on your feet when you're not moving too.
Yeah.
Even 24 hours not moving.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Gerd King. I used to work as a security steward. You know those guys that stand around in high vis at fire exits during concerts and things like that? So I was a security steward, and in a lot of most of the time, you're not allowed to sit down. You have to stand. And so I would stand at concerts and sports games for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours at a time, because you have to be there several hours before the event starts and remain there until everybody has left. So even if the sports game itself only goes for 2.5 hours, you're there for like 6, 7 hours. And it really is fucking agony in your feet to just be standing around doing it's an awful job. Fuck me.
What were you going to say? The line about you're just you're just too blonde is the line
you're too fucking blonde. Great line. And he is too blonde.
I do have a question for everybody. Why is Jared Leto's character the only one who's not forced to shave his head? I've never been able to put that.
Too good.
That haircut cost him $30, mate. It's not wasting it.
But I'm saying, like, everybody else is forced to shave their head and conform, and for some reason he's not. It's always bothered me that.
Do you know what it is? It makes sense because you could see Tyler Durden just saying, "No, don't shave your head. I like it. Looks good." Like,
well, we saw the whole reason he beat him up is because the
character's name is Angel Face for anybody who doesn't know. By the way.
I mean, part of the reason why Edward Norton, the narrator version of his personality, beat him so badly is because he was looking at him like he was seeing the two of them interact in a way that made him kind of jealous. So it could be more the Tyler side of him just saying, "Okay, you don't have to shave," like as an apology almost.
Maybe. Yeah,
but he didn't have to shave it before that. Even I'm saying, it was a. He never had to even do it like prior to having his face.
I guess what threw me off there is I see the
destroyed.
black eye he's got, and I was like, wait a minute, is that a continuity thing? It's like, no, he hasn't been beaten near death yet.
Amelia, a German dude from the 30s might agree with you.
I never thought about that possible aspect.
I
actually
almost made that joke a second ago. I was like, well, he's Aryan.
This is the superior race. We must make sure that he is seen.
The hair must be preserved.
Every movie that this man does from this point forward will be perfection.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Films Comics Explained is gifting 10 Dark Hour memberships. Thank you so much, my friend. Dude. Gonna have him on in the very near future as well.
Oh yeah. Oh wait. I can't find my StreamYard. Oh, there it is. I was like, Jesus. So yeah, Jared Leto, the blonde man, the only blonde dude in a group of a bunch of bald dudes now, and they just kind of do anarchy now. So they've gone up to damn, what do you call this? Arson. Yes, arson.
Yeah, this is arson. Yeah.
Arson and property damage. Yeah, it's pretty cool graffiti, man.
There's some nice symbolism. Go to the previous clip.
Some.
If you see the American flag there, you notice how it's torn and faded, and it kind of symbolizes the death of the American dream as they are engaging in this mayhem with the ultimate goal of destroying the credit card companies and bringing the debt to zero to create chaos because they have lost faith in America or the American dream, this society they've been born into. And it's kind of symbolized with that torn up flag behind them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. It's just like the way that they're dressed too, and everything. They're all in the same uniform, and I think that's one thing that Tyler asked them too. It's like, do you have black boots, a black shirt?
It's do you have one pair of black boots, one pair of black socks, two pair of black pants, two black shirts. That's the it's so like literally not only did they only have enough to where they have to switch out every day.
Yeah, they don't even have their own identity anymore.
Which is hilarious because Tyler Durden himself walks around in nice clothes.
Yep,
and like has this gaudy sunglasses and these over the top leather jackets. But everybody else he asks to be consumers and conformists to his ideal. It's very, there's a lot to unpack with that. With how he treats other people versus how he himself acts.
He's and I think it runs across from he's given them purpose. And like we talked about before, with the 90s being the last good generation, these guys have got nothing going on for themselves. They're just grinding their way to work, maybe going for a couple of beers every now and again. But now they've got purpose. And that's
I guess Robert Paulson didn't have to shave his hair, but he already had pretty short hair to begin with, so he didn't have
even the black guy there. The black guy doesn't shave his head. He's got some hair. It's hard to see, but he does have hair.
He's got a mini fro, yeah.
Yeah, I think as long as your hair is relatively short, it's okay. It doesn't necessarily have. I think just buzzing it is the easiest way to do it, but as long as it seems like as long as it's short, it's fine for most of the people.
And so they're professional arsonists now. Well, yeah, semi-professional arsonists now.
Professional arsonists. They get paid to do this.
Yeah. and yeah, this is POV. You wake up at Brad Pitt's house. This is pretty cool. I really like the wig on the dude.
Hall McCallany's wig is so good. It's so terrible.
It looks so cartoony, and plus, like with his really square face, it just looks like something out of like, I guess Dexter's Laboratory or something like that. It's so good.
He's one of those actors who didn't get his just dues until like relatively recently. Which is I'm glad to see that he's getting more stuff now. But it's always weird when you see that,
like the poor man's Michael Shannon.
Yes, actually, that's a great way to put it. But this is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. Actually,
you could actually throw on Tyler's glasses onto him, and he'd look like an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah, but this is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. It kind of comes full circle with the because the opening sequence has all to do with the testicular cancer and the removal of them. And they have turned it into a threat now that like we'll take your balls and we'll send one to the New York Times, one to the LA Times. And that's part of the running theme is like what is masculinity.
I didn't even pick on that, dude, at all.
Well, yeah, it one of the running themes is what is masculinity, and that to have it start with men who have it taken from them via disease versus now you're using it as a threat of we'll take it away from you.
In fact, I saw it's a bad theory and it's wrong, but I can understand why the guy thinks this. I saw a YouTube video in which a guy theorized that the entire movie is a hallucination of the narrator as a cope for losing his testicles to testicular cancer, and that the references to cutting off balls and testicular cancer are, and even Marla having cancer, that these little references are there to remind you that, or to indicate, to hint that the story is really about a guy trying to cope with losing his balls. That's not true. He's confusing the search for masculinity and the fear of being emasculated. He's confusing that theme with a symbolic meaning of the movie. But I can understand why he was confused.
It's symbolism. He's taking symbolism literally.
Yeah.
And, we have Sammy Threepeat in the house, man. Yo, Sammy, how you doing, man?
What's up,
Glad
Sammy?
to see some people popping in. This is an awkwardly timed one for some people, but like I said, this is we invented these these time slots so we can get others involved with with our show. So
so of course Jared Leto gets beaten to a pulp.
Which I did an interview about this scene with a maxillofacial surgeon who's a ear, nose, and throat surgeon as well, who explained exactly what would happen to Jared Leto's face in this scene, like to it, like very, very detailed. It's on the channel. It's from the very early days of the channel, but it's a pretty cool.
What was the gist of it? As in, what would happen to his face?
It was that he went through the various versions of facial fractures, and we had visuals for it and stuff. But basically, this would be and how they would be fixed, how they would go about fixing them in the hospital. And he essentially came to the conclusion that this would probably be like one of the worst possible because of the fact that there's just nowhere for the head to go. It's just it's one thing.
Yes, well, I mean, this is another example of the hands being broken. If you were to smash your bare fists into someone's skull repeatedly like that, you would break most bones in both hands.
Yeah. That's why when you see MMA fighters, they tend not to punch straight down when they're in the mounted position. They tend to punch with almost like an arcing punch. That way,
they swing. They sort of deviate.
They deviate because punching straight down, even if you have your hands taped up, it actually mess up your wrists as well.
Yeah, that's another thing a lot of people forget, and it's one of the biggest mistakes people who can't really fight and haven't been taught to punch make. They'll hold their hand at an angle or something like this.
Yeah,
and
they don't really.
You're gonna break your wrist if you punch like that.
Yeah.
But that's why a lot of times you watch an MMA fight, it's not like a straight down to the ground punch. It's on an angle of some sort.
So here's Fight Club giving 300 a run for its money, because for a bunch of average Joes, man, a ton of these dudes are actually just jacked. It's crazy. It's like it's your everyday man's 300. That is.
And bear in mind, movies have given guys a wrong idea of how realistic it is to be jacked. Like if you ever see a Chris Hemsworth shirtless scene, Chris Hemsworth only looks like that for hours. How long would you say, Dark R? Because he has to dehydrate.
He has to dehydrate himself,
and then he has to do carb cycling. I would say
that
2 hours.
He probably I mean, when I used to cut weight for tournaments, it would be. I mean, I'm not in that kind of shape anymore, and I don't want to be. It's annoying, but you could see everything was visible because the fluids were all gone, and the most you can do that for is about 12 hours, and then you're really risking
and that's all those shirtless scenes.
You're risking like liver failure and stuff from not having a fluid in your body.
And it's worse now because guys are posting this shit on Instagram and YouTube all the time, and they're always fucking shredded and jacked. It's like, that's not realistic. You can't look like that. You can't walk around
honestly
like that.
Go look
realistic
at
is Bruce Willis in the first Die Hard, man.
That's your average Joe good shape body. I would say, if you go and watch Pumping Iron with the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, they do a whole section on that, what he looks like before and after the cuts. And even these really big jacked guys, they tend to, once you're hydrated, all of your fat cells in the middle of the muscles do expand. So you actually look a lot larger physically than a lot of bodybuilders when they cut the weight, when they dehydrate themselves, they actually lose a ton of their total mass size. So,
but like Holt McCallany there, that's a pretty healthy looking body. He's in shape.
Oh yeah,
I was he's not like some ridiculous 5%, 6% body fat, but not anything like he has visible abs.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman. I mean, Hugh Jackman's in his mid-50s, and there was a few topless scenes where he looked really great in Deadpool versus Deadpool and Wolverine, and he would have had to cut and then dehydrate, and he would have only looked.
Well,
like
there's that one picture of him that's like the promo picture from, I believe it was The Wolverine, where he was 3% body fat, just purely shredded. And you can see his skin is dehydrated. If you look close, obviously they touched up the picture, but you can see his skin is dehydrated in that picture.
Yeah, man, and so yeah, so it's like he beats Jared Leto to a pulp. So R.I.P. Leto, but he's still alive, and so yeah, this dude just randomly.
Oh wait. By the way, if you could go back, I just want to point out the priest is in
Yep.
the background, and that
Yes,
when
yes, the priest.
Yeah, he's got
priest
his,
is actually still
his
he is
cross.
there. I had never
cross.
noticed
Oh,
that
yeah,
until I
there
saw
he
that
is,
still. He's right there. Yeah,
Yeah, he's wearing
cross
the
and
cross.
everything.
Yeah.
nice glistening cross. And so these guys, they decide to take the car and leave while Jared Leto gets sent to the hospital. And this dude just gives them his car. Is that it?
No, it's a long. He works at the airport. It's a long-term storage at the airport that he gives them.
Oh,
So basically,
okay.
he's like the valet at the airport, and he's just like, yeah, this one's gonna. They're not gonna miss this for a while.
I never understood that, dude. Yeah, seriously. And
No,
then
I've
we
seen
have,
this movie
of
so
course,
many times. It's like,
and then of course we have the car conversation, which I do have a clip of, which I shall play.
Yeah, why wasn't I told about Project Mayhem?
First rule of Project Mayhem is you do not ask questions.
Fight Club was the beginning. Now it's moved out of the basement. It's called Project Mayhem.
Dad, you should have told me. Hey, Tyler! Decide your own level of involvement. I will. I want to know certain things first.
First rule of Project Mayhem.
Shut up! Forget about what you think you know about life, about friendship, and especially about you and me. Guys, what would you wish you'd done before you died?
Paint a self-portrait.
Build a house. And you? Come on! Not good enough. Stop fucking around.
Dude, I love I had to cut it because of copyright, but I love the fact that you could just see them putting their seat belts on slowly at the back.
It's like it's this big loop that he does with it.
Yep.
It's like that scene is probably the biggest hint, like the largest they're the same person out of all of them. The way that the guys in the back are reacting and looking at him arguing with himself clearly. The fact that he Tyler gets out of the passenger side and drags out the narrator from the driver's side. And there's also just the fact that they're only reacting to one aspect of the conversation the whole time from the back. They're not actually reacting to anything Tyler says. They're only reacting to things that the narrator says. So,
to be fair, if your life goal was to paint a self-portrait, you probably should drive on the wrong side of the road.
No, not his life goal, just something you regret that you didn't do. And their answers are great and important.
It's fun. I'm just trolling him.
Yeah. Like when he says build a house, he's talking about creating something, like engaging with his physical body to create something in a masculine way. And the other guy says build a self-portrait. It's a bit more artsy, but it's the same kind of thing. You want to create something. You want to use your skill and your masculine drive to create something. And it's a generation of men who have had that taken away from them. They're not building. Well, I mean, they could be in construction, but they're not building something for themselves. They're not working the land.
Laid down.
Yeah, here, I'll go back to that one in a second. But creation versus destruction. They've been destroying, but they also want to create, I think is what...
Yeah, I mean, and self-destruction is a big theme in this. That's why he takes that guy out the back of the convenience store and threatens to shoot him. He wants to give him sort of ego death so he can rebuild him from the ground up.
I just want to react to Red Pill Rants. This is, a tailored format after several failed attempts early in the days of the show.
I mean, we only had like one failed attempt. That's true.
Well, I guess the second failed attempt was when we didn't realize that we needed to back up the slides.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Blade, we shall never forget.
Yes. 20 minutes of me trying to stretch out why the intro credits were awesome in Blade. Oh my God.
So he wakes up after the crash, and in his house, everyone is cooking. This is Breaking Bad levels of stuff. Even the priest right here, on the right with the glasses, he's there making handmade bombs. That's it. And I love this. It's the human sacrifices. There it is. Everyone's driver's license. on the back of the on the door.
Yeah, I always took this as these are the people who didn't follow through with what they said they were going to do. That was.
I don't know. I can't. Part of me actually, I don't think they killed any of these people. I think when they see human sacrifice, like what happened to Raymond, I think was his version of a human sacrifice.
That's what I was thinking.
It's kind of, I mean, in a sense, it's almost similar to the Christian idea of being born again. Is this person is stuck in this mundane, repetitive way of life, and now they're reborn with purpose. You know, yeah, we had to force this person into it and threaten their lives, but it's like, in a sense, you've killed that, you know, that person who was procrastinating on their goals. So it's like, I don't think they necessarily had to kill any of these people.
Yeah,
what if I agree with George. That's actually a great question.
Well, choose any ID will do. Student ID, anything.
And if you look closely, these are so a big chunk of them are from the same location. But if you there's peppered in there, there's ones from obviously different locations because he's been flying around. Yeah. I would say about 70% of them are all from where they're from, but there's a decent number of other ones.
Also, I did want to mention there's right before, like right after the car crash, I do love Brad Pitt's monologue about the type of world he wants to live in that he gives him that before he says, you know, sweet dreams. And then when he wakes back up, he's done all of this stuff. I think that monologue is actually really cool.
Yeah, I think it's there's so many good elements in the script that just make everything work. All right, see you, Lance.
Catch you later, Lance.
And so yeah, right now their goal is to kill two birds with one stone. So break the monument and at the same time break I guess a
Starbucks, basically.
Yeah, a Starbucks. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean they just say it's a like a corporate
franchise,
corporate franchise coffee house, but they just make up a name. It's clearly supposed to be Starbucks.
Yeah.
They had a Starbucks earlier, didn't they?
And they killed Bob, man.
Yeah. That's great makeup.
Yeah.
I think this
you only get a brief shot of it, but it's like, oh crap. Yeah,
I mean, for that one little shot, they put in a ton of effort, and it looks excellent.
Yeah.
And when they move the bag, all the blood just falls out of the back with the brains.
It's another thing to look for when you're trying to figure out, well, what is a good director? How do you look for good direction in a film? Look at the little details. If the little details look great, it's a good indication that a great deal of care and effort has been put in and the director's thinking about all of this. Often when you have shitty directors, there's really no attention to detail at all, or the director has just sort of lazily delegated it, if at all, and you get things like crappy costume, poor edits, shoddy makeup, things like that.
Yeah,
like the
just like Red Bull said below.
Go ahead,
so
Richard.
Like the armor in Rings of Power and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's in Rings of Power, it's very, very patchy. It's all over the place. A lot of it, just the little things. Some of the costumes good, some of it's dreadful. Same with the makeup, same with the hair. It's all over the place. It's just very poorly directed.
Yep.
I like the comparison of Boromir with Isildur's father with their different armors. One's out of a one's probably out of a kid's costume thing, and the other one looks like it's legit.
Yeah.
And so Bob is dead. They shot him in the back of the head, and
fucking pigs.
his name is and I love how Jared Leto Angel Eyes. He's just like yeah, we gotta bury him. Chop chop. He just claps his hand, and everyone just moves on to Bob, and it's like, yikes, this is it's kind of scary, you know, the mob mentality that they have. And then, of course, his name is Bob. You know, say his name.
His name is
Robert Paulson.
Sorry, I clicked on it for one.
Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson. Apparently, the Jamalama went to see if it was streaming, and the third auto suggestion was, "Is Fight Club gay?"
Yeah, it was gay. It's actually gay coded. You know, most people in history were also gay. Everyone was gay, guys.
Actually, everybody on this panel is gay.
It's a gay.
We're all gay. We're either gay or we're gay coded, or closeted gay.
When they say we have to go against the male gaze, that's not GAZE.
You know what? It's bizarre. Like the sort of the alphabet mafia are obsessed with this idea that everything in history was gay, but at the same time, they're a tiny minority that was always oppressed. It's like, well, pick one. You
Yeah,
can't have both.
you can't be the victim. You can't be both like the victim and the like, you know, the majority at the same time. Like it doesn't historic majority. But
but I think in a lot of things, in a lot of things, people want to be victim and hero of their own story, don't they?
Yeah,
And
I mean, well, that's
not just rainbow people. That's people in general across the board. Everyone wants to be the I'm a victim, but I'm also the hero.
Yeah, exactly. Brokeback Fight Club. Tell you what.
Oh, well
tell you
played.
what.
Why can't I fight you?
Brokeback Mountain has aged so badly. Like that's just a bad movie.
I've never actually watched it. I had no interest.
It's got nothing to do with the gay stuff. It's just a bad movie for all sorts of reasons. Like the time lapses are too big. The acting's excellent by Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal, but the time lapses are too big. The characters are really immoral and just outright evil. Some of the stuff they do, but you're kind of asked to be on their side. Some of the dialogue is really cringy and cheesy. Some of the music is like they're laying it on really thick. It's not a good movie.
I've got a story about Brokeback Mountain. Wife and I before kids, we were at the movies, and I can't remember what we were going to go and see. Walk in, sit down. Wait a minute, we're in the wrong bloody screen. The Brokeback Mountain was on. hang on, this isn't it. Check the tickets.
I can just imagine if you didn't even know what it was, just like this is some sort of a really masculine cowboy movie.
Yeah, then boom.
And then you're just like, yes, this is what all men do when they're being cowboys. This is you just have to like keep justifying it to yourself.
Yeah, no. Spider went, we're in the wrong room.
It's like when
there is such a thing as a movie being a little too pro male.
I mean, in fairness, Platoon has been on the show. And so I think by default, that makes those ones the gayest ones, but I could be wrong.
So at this point, original Tyler is just going around looking for fake Tyler. And so what he's doing is he's following the ticket trail, basically the paper trail. That's what he's following, and so it leads him to this place where they're saying his name is Robert Paulson, which is kind of freaky. And of course, we also learn the fact that there are fight clubs basically everywhere around the nation, just almost everywhere he can go, and that he's visited. Of course, since he's following his own paper trail, he's visited them already and established them. And he even says everywhere he goes, he has the sensation of deja vu, which, it's once again just solidifying the fact that him and Tyler are the same person. And it's not until we get the proper confirmation from the security guy / bartender, I guess.
Yeah, the bartender,
yeah.
Who is in the traction neck brace thing. It's like James Woolard, Norton looks pretty knackered at this and rough by this point. Yeah, that's part of the design of the characters is as Tyler goes on, he becomes in better shape and more put together, and the narrator becomes more disheveled, and that's on purpose.
Yeah, that's because he's becoming Tyler. That's why. So the narrator is dying so that Tyler can be the only one to live. Two homos. Yeah.
Is that the group after the us three guests leave? Is it?
Oh yeah, that's the after party.
And so at this point, he understands that him and Tyler are the same person, which is why he calls Marla Singer to ask her what his name is, and she tells him it's Tyler, and this is where he goes to meet fake Tyler, who's he's dripped out, man. He's looking good. What can I say? He's looking like I don't know if any of you guys watch One Piece, but he's looking like a live action Don Flamingo. That's pretty cool.
I've watched. Yeah, I've seen One Piece. I know the character.
Oh.
I haven't watched the live action one though.
Yeah, he's looking good, man. And I do have the entire clip of the twist. So let me play that, and then we can discuss it.
Why do people think that I'm you?
I think you know.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. Why would anyone possibly confuse you with me? You got it.
No. Do not fuck with us. Say it. Because. Say it. Because we're the same person.
All the ways you wish you could be, that's me. I look like you want to look, I fuck like you want to fuck, I am smart, capable, and most importantly, I'm free in all the ways that you are not. They don't have the courage you have to just run with it. Little by little, you're just letting yourself become Tyler Durden.
Yep, exactly, dude. I love the score.
Did you just type that, Tar? Because I did not type incredible score right now. And
yeah, dude. I of course I typed it, dude.
Okay, I was just gonna say, did someone hack my account? What's going on?
Dude, yeah, I typed this because I thought that.
Wait, are we the same person?
Yeah, we are. I am Dark Hour. I think the score is really good, man. Just the little leitmotif that keeps coming back. It's just it's so nice. So yeah, what do you guys think of the
hold on that we have a super chat from Red Pill Rants for $1.99. Really like the panel and a cool watch format. We actually have a repost channel. If you want to drop, if somebody could just drop that, I guess I could just drop
it's in the description.
It's in the description. Yeah, just click in the description. We have a ton of these. This is number 30. We've had all sorts of great panels. This is we've had even Critical Drinker has been on. It's been a pretty cool run for us so far.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're enjoying the content, man. So yeah, what do you guys think? I guess what do you guys think of the reveal, the way that it's handled, the fact that it's a sit down, just literally face to face, telling the audience what's going on? What do you guys think about it?
It's excellent because he doesn't go for a cheesy George Lucas style reveal where it's just bum bum bum. It's you know yourself what's going on. As soon as you see Tyler, it clicks for you, right? Okay, well, it's the same person. But it takes a little bit longer for the narrator to accept this and to grasp this. And the way Tyler says, I think you know, he's not just talking to the narrator, he's talking to the audience. That's Fincher communicating through Tyler Durden. Come on, there's been so many hints. You've got to have figured this out by now. And even if you haven't, at this very moment, you know. So I like that it's handled that way instead of just the cheesy reveal with the dramatic music and Luke going.
Yeah, the way Shyamalan would have done it,
Yeah, the way Shyamalan would have done it, or if you ever see Saw always has. They always have their third act twist, which is coming. And you've got the cheesy music. I love that shit. It's so corny. But
I think somebody should do a supercut of like every twist ending with Saw's music. That'd be great.
The narrator actually reacts how a real person would to such shocking, like something that's that shocking to them, is he just like is fucking passes out. Like it's probably the most realistic way that a shock reveal has ever been shown on in a movie. At least really over the top one. I just want to say thank you to Heathen Monk for gifting 5 Dark Hour memberships. He has. I recently added Heathen Monk to the credits at the end of my my videos. I update those every month. So
awesome. Gordon, what about you, man?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's because like I said, I kind of figured this is where they were going in the movie. I won't say there was no doubt for me going in. So when they revealed it, it was still a great reveal. It wasn't like super surprising, but I love the way it was done. I love the dialogue for it. I think the musical build up to it is great. Like Dark Hour said, I think the way that he reacts is fantastic because it's not like overdone or anything where oftentimes you'll see like characters react like they're like backing up against the wall and they're just acting like movie characters, where he just kind of sat there and was just kind of like sort of accepting it, but then just kind of denying it. It's like, oh, you're doing this, and he's like, no, you're doing this, and now granted, he's not really passing out at the end though. It's really, I think Tyler's just taking him over.
Wow, I did spell it wrong. I'm sorry, Heathen Monk. Apparently, you're the Heaton Monk. I'll fix that right now. Holy shit, I screwed that up so badly.
But
I missed an H. You know what it was? I did it right before I released my last video, and I had been editing all day. I probably my eyes just weren't working correct. I'm gonna fix it right now.
Gentlemen, can you confirm this for Amelia Bedelia? She wants to know if there's a Brad Pitt in Everyman. Is your spirit animal?
Are you asking me if I would like to have Brad Pitt inside of me? I think that's what is going on there. And I think after seeing some of the scenes of this movie, I may have to. This may be the gayest two hoes of all time.
What about you, Richard, man? What do you think about the plot twist, the reveal?
It's pretty iconic. For me, it was spoiled before I saw it first time around, but bloody good though. I mean, the look of his face, it's not like the backwards kind of zoom camera you get with some things where all of a sudden he's, the camera's zooming in and moving away. It's just that kind of oh shit kind of look on it. I think it's handled really well. Yeah, quite good.
And so when he goes back to the house, everything is cleared out, everything is clean, and you have him meeting up with Marla Singer to kind of discuss his this revelation, and finally explaining to her why he's been incredibly shitty in this weird relationship. It's because, well, he technically didn't know that it was him in that relationship, and at the same time, he sort of breaks up with her. Well, she sort of breaks up with him, but he still wants her to be safe, so he urges her to go onto the bus and skip town because he's uncovered the Project Mayhem demolitions plan to take down a ton of the city. Well, there's 12 buildings in their city, but it's nationwide anyway, so there could probably be it's just a huge nationwide terrorist attack basically that's about to go on by Project Mayhem.
Can we briefly discuss the plan, Tyler's plan? Because when I was a kid, I thought, oh man, Tyler's so fucking cool, and I love his plan to blow up all the credit card companies. And to me at the time, to the mind of a 15-year-old, that was awesome. But I look at that today and I sort of think how profoundly unjust it is that all of these people, through bad lifestyle choices and just general immorality, have got themselves in debt, and they're just all going to get away with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's so evil. It's so wrong. All the people who work their asses off are going to get screwed over so that all the bums, layabouts, and losers and scroungers can just get a free pass on their debt. It's such a disgusting, evil act.
Yep. It's I don't know. To me, his plan makes virtually no sense whatsoever. It kind of contradicts what he says in general at the beginning of
it would actually tank the economy to the point where that's probably the goal too. It would tank the economy completely because almost the entirety of the American and most economies is built on the concept of debt transfers and all these. So by completely zeroing everything out, and there's no flow of any income for most of the businesses, so therefore they're going to then essentially bottom out, and everything's gonna be at zero. There's not going to be any there would be the people who do all of the raw materials. Now the companies can't buy the raw materials from those. It would ruin way more than it actually would fix.
Yeah, Emilio Bedelia, he's a radical. He's a radical terrorist.
Yeah, it's kind of like that weird Thanos situation where it's like, hey man, we can snap all living things. That doesn't include plans, does it? Does it? That is yeah. So your thing was kind of useless to begin with at this point. But yeah. So I don't know. Gord, did you say anything about the plan?
Well, no, I think it's definitely unjust. I totally agree with you. I think it speaks to the worldview, like that little monologue he had after the car crash, because he's he says, in the world I see, you're stalking elk through the canyon forest amidst the ruins of Rockefeller Center. He basically wants, kind of like what happened at the end of Escape from LA. He wants that kind of world, basically. Where basically we kind of go back to a hunter-gatherer society. It's never mind that most of the people in the world would probably die.
Yep.
Yeah, that reminded me a little bit. Ironically, it reminded me of Gandhi, because Well, a lot of people don't understand about Gandhi is that he wasn't a politician. He was just a symbolic figurehead of the movement, but he never entered politics, and he had some profoundly strange ideas. For example, he wanted to get rid of all machinery in India's agricultural sector and just have people produce agriculture
Manual
by
labor,
hand,
yeah.
which would have resulted in starvation of hundreds of millions of people. And this is kind of what Tyler Durden is proposing, that if we can just get rid of the mechanized machine economy and go back to pounding corn by hand, it's like, man, half the population is going to starve to death at least.
He has. The thing is, what he's actually prepared even his own group for is not that. He's prepped them for the ability to physically fight. Yes, which yes, you could take stuff from people, but for destruction of property and stuff. He hasn't like it's not like he's trained them to farm and hunt and do all the things that would be required in his new world. He actually, his own movement would start to bottom out very quickly.
And bear in mind, he achieves this. I mean, he does end up destroying the country at the end of the movie.
That's true. Yeah, but I don't know. It's such a weird plan. And so at this point, original Tyler turns himself in because he doesn't know what the hell is going on, except that there's going to be bombs that are going off. So he brings all the evidence that he has on him to the police officer who was in charge of his investigating his apartment when it went on fire. And so we actually learned that these 3 police officers that are against the wall and on the chair over there are part of Project Mayhem. And so it's interesting because fake Tyler basically told them about real Tyler and what to do in case real Tyler pops in and it's not the fake Tyler. And it's like it's interesting to me. Even the fact that when he's like, the real Tyler really said that you would say this when he's like, yeah, I am Tyler Durden. Thank you, the mission. Yeah, it's like you could clearly tell.
I am Tyler Durden. You're right.
It's like, yeah, that is me. I am him. But yeah, but also the fact that they want to cut off his testicles here. I mean, it's kind of dumb, isn't it? You know.
Well, it's especially stupid because like the fire detective knocks on the door and is like, they answer the door and they're like, "Don't say anything," and he just plays along with it. Like all he has to do is yell like, "They're trying to cut my balls off in here" or something, and like the actual like the ones that aren't part of Project Mayhem are going to rush in.
By the way, you can see the boom mic.
Oh wow, yeah, I never noticed that.
Oh yeah, right, you can see it.
I just noticed that. I was like, that's a boom mic.
I guess in theory that they probably left it in there because having a microphone in an interrogation room actually makes sense. They probably were just like, I leave it anyway. Like,
I mean, thank God this isn't a George Lucas film. If it was, he would have removed the boom mic and put a bantha in the background. Jesus Christ, man! I'm working on my Acolyte video at the minute, and I'm using the Lucasized special edition features. They're fucking awful, dear God. Because I have to slow it down a lot and I'm noticing all these things. My God, they're terrible. The special edition Star Wars movies.
Yeah, thank God they've made the despecialized editions, man.
And they look so fucking bad today. Like they're so disgustingly dated.
Yeah.
Like I mean, literally, like there's banthas layered in, the kind of thing you could do on a little amateur video editor. You just layer in a photo. God, it's awful.
Yep. It kind of looks like those old VFX things that you have on your phone where they're just like, I'll take a video, then you have like the weird green screen element that comes through. That's pretty much it.
They're unwatchable.
Especially
unwatchable now.
The skin texture for all of the animals and stuff like that. It just looks
like at
flat.
some point, Disney are just gonna have to admit, guys, these movies are fucking unwatchable now. They just look god awful. We need to remaster the originals. But I guess that they've got a clause in the contract that says they can't do that.
I don't even think that they physically own the reels for the originals. I'm pretty certain that George Lucas still has those.
George Lucas said that to him it would be too expensive to redigitalize the original prints and then make them as a despecialized, like proper, just normal edition. But I mean,
whatever. When has money ever stopped Disney from doing something?
I mean, it's crazy because you've got like people doing it for free, man. You have that dude, I forget his name, but he made the entire OT despecialized, and it took him years. It took, I think, like 5 or 6 years, and
I want them to despecialize it with the Jabba scene still in, so you just see that guy in the hairy costume walking around instead.
Amelia, I gotta disagree with Amelia here. She says, "Fun fact: you can live without your balls." That's wrong, Amelia. You can exist without your balls.
Yes.
You cannot live without your balls.
Not to skip a beat, Bush immediately. Well, Amelia, you can live without your tits, and then you chose violence.
Hey, don't root for all of us, eh?
Hey, I mean, it wouldn't be a Fight Club stream if there wasn't fighting in the chat. I think that is very much in line with what we were. What this chat should have been.
I think some people wake up and choose violence, don't they?
And speaking of waking up and choosing violence, bombs, ladies and gentlemen. Where is Jeremy Renner in a suit when you need him?
Heck yeah.
I wish he would have had the clip where he's trying to get into the building and he can't, and then he shoots the gun.
He shoots the glass.
Yeah,
glass,
he shoots the glass because he's trying to shoot Tyler. It's
wow.
Well, I mean, you make a great. Just what you said there. I wish you had that clip. This movie has thousands of such clips of little frames that are just perfect. If you were to just pick a random frame from this movie, it's going to look good and there's going to be interesting things in it. There are hundreds of iconic, just little moments in this. It's incredible, the depth of it.
Oh yeah.
I also love when he fights himself in the very near future, and we see on camera. You don't have that clip, do you?
I have it. I have it audioless. Don't worry.
Okay, that's fine. Don't worry. I'll
wait. I'll play it in just a sec. Yeah. So just
my
let me give you
favorite line in the whole movie.
So he uncovers the bombs that are in the explosives that are in the van. Of course, the explosives that have been set up before. With literally the first time that we met Tyler on the plane, talking about making household bombs from everyday items, and so yeah, they have the explosives rigged up, and he kind of does his Hurt Locker impression over here, and he manages to defuse this bomb at the behest of Tyler, of course. And Tyler,
I wouldn't do that one.
Yes, and Tyler is pretty pissed off, of course. Original Tyler as well is pretty pissed off too, but he's stupid because he's shooting a gun at explosives. So
that's my favorite line in the whole movie. It's not my favorite scene, but my favorite line. The you're shooting your imaginary friend near 400 pounds of nitroglycerin. Which is actually a very important scene. It's played off for funny, but it actually is important because it's the first time that you see Tyler scared, because he it's the realization is happening within his head that if I die, Tyler dies. So Tyler is now starting to have the realization as well, and which is going to play into about 3 minutes from now.
Yeah, this is what you were talking about, Dark Hour, with Brad Pitt channeling his inner Chuck Norris.
I love this scene. That's what I love, is that whenever they cut to the security cameras and he's beating the shit or throwing himself down the stairs, and
you just see some crazy dude fighting himself, which explains why he was able to punch himself so well in his boss's office.
Yeah,
it's like, dude, stuff like this.
This is him training for his Bruce Lee fight in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
He would be so fucked up from this. Like,
this
did. Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, if you were to, it's one of those Hollywood things. And Darkar, you'll know what I'm talking about. You ever see those fight scenes where a guy gets thrown against the wall and then he just gets back up and shakes off the dust?
Yeah.
See if you got a fucking throw. If a full-grown man who was strong enough to pick you up and throw you against the wall, you're not getting back up from that. No. You will. You even if you don't break bones, you will be in such agony with that one throw. But You know, it's very
you
Hollywood.
you
very
literally
Hollywood.
have the wind knocked out of you, man. Like the just to grab your breath back from having all the wind knocked out of your chest.
If you get
already
thrown,
takes
I mean,
several minutes.
I've been thrown by really good judo guys before, and it not only does it knock the wind out of you, it takes your soul away if you get thrown hard enough into the ground or into the wall or something. It completely rewires your brain. Like you have to reboot because you're like, I don't understand. I just got hit with the earth. What the fuck just happened? Like,
yeah, I mean, you think about it. Even if you lightly bump into an immovable object unexpectedly, it is incredibly jarring. So to be thrown into one, that's a completely different ballgame.
Yep. So yeah, at this point now, he wakes up and we're back at the beginning of the movie. What did he say? He says a flashback joke or something like that. So yeah, we're back at the beginning of the movie, and original Tyler, finally decides to put an end to fake Tyler. And the reason why he's doing that is because the gun that he has in his hand is, I guess he calls it imaginary, because, you know, technically he says the gun isn't in your hand, it's in my hand. He's now taking full control of the fact that he knows they are two distinct personalities in one body. And we finally get rid of Tyler Durden, ladies and gentlemen. Let me play the clip and then we can discuss it a bit.
My eyes are open. What's that smell?
And there is dead.
I had a super chat that I saved. Go ahead. I'll do it in a minute.
When he says my eyes are open, there's a few different ways you could take that line, as in my journey, my masculine becoming is finished, and I no longer have any need of you, so I'm going to dispense with you now. I have divested myself from my old kind of corporate slave self, and I have achieved I've become self-actualized as a masculine man, so you can go now, I'm going to kill you. Or does it mean I see you for the sort of evil that you are, and I'm going to destroy you now? Like, how do you take that line?
I take it more as he sees the evil and he wants to destroy it, because gradually, once he starts finding out about what Project Mayhem is, he automatically decides that it's pure evil, and he doesn't want any part of it whatsoever, which is even why Brad Pitt's Tyler took over his body once he told him the plot twist. It's like, yep, we're trying to get rid of him. You know, only one of us can survive in this body. It's not a split situation. And so I really do think that it's the latter, where he sees the darkness and he sees the pure evil that he has become, and wants to get rid of it.
I saved this super from RRTNZ for 10 New Zealand dollars. If Chuck Norris was in Fight Club, it would have lasted 5 minutes, because Chuck Norris can kill your imaginary friend. If you dream of fighting Chuck Norris, you wake up with a broken nose.
Thank you, RRTNZ. Those are pretty good one.
He's running up on national debt today with the super chats. The lights are going to be off. You know, the power's going to go down.
But what about you guys, man? What do you guys think of what Despot said about his eyes being?
I agree with you that I've always viewed it as like it all makes sense now. It's kind of a combination of both. Like, I don't need you, but it's the reason he doesn't need him or want him is because it's not the direction he wanted to go, and it's been a thing that running theme for the second half of the film is that he's not included in the planning. He's not included in this. But he now realizes that he was actually capable of doing all this by himself, and he didn't need that. He could have done it all because everybody just thought it was him anyway. So I don't think I think it's a kind of a combination of both. I don't need you, but I don't want you because you're a piece of shit that I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I think in essence, like a part, like, is that, I don't know if I have a fixed interpretation of what that means, because I've looked at it from that point of view. I also wonder if this is his way of hitting bottom, because it's right after this that we see the buildings fall, and he's not like reacting and like, oh, this is horrific. It's more just he accepts that, okay, hope's kind of lost here at this point. It's like he definitely, I think, knows that what's happened here is bad, but it's like, well, here we go. It's like, well, the world's a different place now. We're all kind of screwed. I think this is, in a way, you could look at this as he's hitting bottom here, just as Tyler wanted him to all along.
So, like I said earlier, I haven't read the book. I know you have, Despot. Isn't the ending in the book different than the film?
I can't remember. I read it so long ago.
Doesn't he like go to heaven or something like that and have like a
What the
conversation with God or something?
No, if I recall correctly, he like wakes up in a hospital and
now I remember. Yeah, it's all
somebody
coming back.
Explained it to me. Someone explained
at the end of
once.
the book. At the end of the book, basically, he wakes up in the hospital and he says something to the effect of, "I wake up in the hospital and I see them everywhere. They are the guys cleaning the corridor. They're the guys who bring me my food." And he's very, very badly injured at the end. It takes him months to recover. But over these months, he hears about, what has happened in the aftermath of the attacks. And he's they're everywhere all around him. And the point being that he can't escape it now. They surround him.
He's created, if I recall correctly, it's like he's basically, he has officially created a machine that can never be stopped.
Yeah.
He's created his own purgatory.
And then if I recall correctly, it's something along the lines like even his like nurse or his doctor comes in and is like, we're just waiting for Tyler Durden to come back or something like that.
It's very Frank Herbert, the Messiah who kind of creates this runaway movement that he loses control of.
But yeah,
that's not the ending we have here.
Yeah, we have I guess quantum off yourself. YouTube, you can't say the word, I guess. Yeah. So he does the quantum suicide basically, and that's how he ends Tyler Durden. And while that just after that happens, he does actually still have a real bullet hole in his mouth. So yikes. And so
yeah,
you have
it like goes through like his neck.
and you have the project
off.
Basically. And you have the Project Mayhem people that are bringing in Marla Singer, which they kidnapped from the bus. And this is basically the end of the movie where they have front row seats to the destruction of the city. This is Project Mayhem's mission being accomplished. And of course, the soundtrack has become now iconic with this scene. It's been memed to death. It's been memed as much as the Matrix scenes. And yeah, that is how the movie ends, with them just.
You remember how they hilariously used a cover of this song for Malignant?
Yep.
And I'm like, if you heard that and you didn't know what the twist was, I mean, it's like, come on, go watch Fight Club. That makes it so obvious.
And that final scene, the cinematography and the symmetry is so beautiful. It's such a gorgeous, well composed shot when they're sort of standing holding hands, and they look kind of similar because they're wearing similar looking coats.
Yep.
And they've got the same stance, and it's just a gorgeous shot.
It's really, really good. I was even looking. Even the cinematographer hasn't worked on that much. Worked a bit with David Fincher. I think he's the one that did the cinematography for Gone Girl. But he's not like Fincher's go-to guy, And even you look, the editor, as I said before, his resume isn't very long, even until today. And same for the cinematographer, man. His resume isn't very long, even till today. So the fact that they've made movies like this and haven't gotten, bigger roles or bigger jobs in the industry just kind of makes me sad.
I almost so apparently I'm gonna look this up later.
Man.
Oh, the Chinese ending? Yeah, it's basically the government stops it. Like, it's done in text. It's kind of hilarious. Like, it literally says,
okay.
Through the clue provided by Tyler, the police rapidly figured out the whole plan and arrested all criminals, successfully preventing the bomb from exploding. After the trial, Tyler was sent to lunatic asylum, receiving
asylum.
He was discharged from the hospital in 2012.
Jesus.
I'll have to look that up.
So he then came through your southern border if he's escaped from a lunatic asylum, according to someone.
I'll have to go watch that. That's
Fuck, man, and that is my next YouTube watch.
Yeah, I literally have it loaded up right now.
Ending.
I'm loading it up so I don't forget.
Yeah. Dude.
So in Fight Club 2,
that was pretty much Fight Club, man. Just wanted to show you guys. Of course, I think we all know what actual proper film cameras look like, but dude, every time I see one in a picture, I'm just genuinely surprised by how massive these things are. Just even on a tiny set, they take up 90% of the space.
Are they still that big? Are they still that big because it's digital now?
So the actual camera is usually about the digital ones are about this big.
Yeah.
But really what makes it big is the lenses, depending on the throw distances and stuff. Or I guess the aperture distance.
And film was loud too, man. So you must
you don't need those big. You see those big white reels on the side? You don't need those anymore. They're essentially not there. But the cameras themselves, for the most part, are still the same size. The
IMAX cameras are freaking huge.
IMAX well, that's because IMAX cameras use like specialized lenses that are like essentially encased in mechanics around them. It's an IMAX like lens for recording looks like a huge box that you attach, and the lens is in there, but it's got a lot of shit that's going on inside.
It's even quite surprising to see how many IMAX movies are being pumped out, considering just a decade ago they only had like literally 4 IMAX cameras in the world. Pretty much.
It's a huge part of a movie's gross now. So, for example, one of the reasons the last Mission Impossible movie flopped is because it lost its IMAX screens to Oppenheimer. And again, that was one of the reasons Oppenheimer was such a big success. Obviously, Barbenheimer was a big thing, but the IMAX, if Oppenheimer hadn't gone on IMAX screens, wouldn't have made anything close to what it made. So it's a huge part of the financial consideration now.
Oh yeah, because it's way more money for the box office. Like the split, you make a considerably much more amount on one ticket because of how the split is between theaters and distributors. On an IMAX ticket than you do on an average ticket.
Yeah, IMAX basically gets to like set the ratio on the ticket, and they get to do it on an individual basis for every film. So
June Part 2 as well. June Part 2. That was a successful movie at a time, released in March, which is quite unusual to make that much money in March.
Yep, that's true.
And also, the first movie was not successful, so yeah, that's only going to increase.
Was it the first one released during COVID though?
The first one was released day and date, if I remember correctly.
It was released on COVID and HBO, so it did okay. And COVID did hold it back considerably. But that's only going to increase the demand for IMAX from Hollywood now because all these big hits that went on IMAX screens.
Yep, it's kind of like the 3D craze that happened after Avatar.
Jesus Christ, man! I'm actually studying that at the minute. It's really fascinating, actually.
Oh yeah, I talked about it in my Dread video because Dread was named and marketed as Dread 3D. You know, it's literally has 3D.
This looks like
in the
the weirdest
title.
lineup for a soccer game ever for like a free kick. Like the way that they're standing, like it's just like.
Yeah, dude, giving them the Marla Singer touch. That's what I'm calling it now.
All 3 of them have interfered with Project Mayhem.
One thing I wanted to say is, so in Fight Club 2, one of the running themes is how Tyler is still around, right? And Marla is cheating on the narrator with Tyler by like coaxing him out when the narrator is asleep, essentially. And so like he had suppressed him mentally, but she was essentially bringing him back, and that's I'm not gonna go too in depth, but that's one of the major plot points of that book. Fight Club 2, I showed it before. It's a graphic novel. It's not really that great. It's okay. It could have been way better. But it's not the worst thing.
Amelia, you know what? I missed going to watch Pulp Fiction in theaters on Sunday, actually. They were doing 2 special screenings, and I missed it. Come on, man. So yeah.
I'm going to pull up real quick. The poll, Fight Club was the best twist with 50%, and Usual Suspects 37%, Sixth Sense with 13%. I'm going to end that poll now. 62 votes. So a pretty decent sample size. Only a few people. This is the first time we ever did a Q&A, so people probably didn't even realize it was there. What is your power animal? The heathen monk, an Arctic fox, Jamalama, gay otters, Adam Gray, vodka, and Iceman would like to know what a power animal is. So
let me just do the we got the last 2 super chats here. So we got £2 from Melvin Deeply. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is shit. And once again, I need
it
to
is,
rewatch
and we all know it. We all know deep
that's
down
a running.
it's
That's
shit,
a running
and
gag.
It's boring.
I love that movie.
Really?
I do. I love it. I've watched it many times. I really like it.
That's
fine. I get what people. I get that it's not a movie for everyone. That's fine.
Yeah.
Did anybody put any thought into the if you could fight anybody, who would it be, and then a celebrity and a historical figure?
Sure.
Yep. I guess we'll go around the horn.
Wait, let me drop the last super chat first.
Oh,
so
I didn't see it. I thought you did already.
Hostman's Lounge for $4.99. Thank you, Hostman. Of this film, Gone Girl or American Psycho, which does the panel think is the most misunderstood? So, anyone?
I mean,
Probably
I
American
didn't
Psycho.
know this until recently, but learning that there's a pretty large contingent of people who side with Amy Dunn and Gone Girl, I guess I would go with that one because that's
They are
kind of
really?
psychotic.
Well,
Like,
any
you think
feminist
she's-
will automatically side with her. I mean, she's a feminists think she's an icon.
Oh Lord!
Wife and I, we watched the Netflix doco about the woman who faked her own kidnapping, and basically she'd read Gone Girl and a few other things. You know, she was got her ex to pick her up. She jumped in the back of the car and hid in the footwell for 9 hours.
Jesus.
Yeah, legit story. And then she must have had Munchausen by proxy because she was making the kids sick, and if they hurt themselves, she was making them even sicker.
I mean, and the reason I wouldn't say American Psycho or Fight Club is because I kind of think there are multiple ways you can interpret either one of those films. I don't know if there is one set way to understand those movies. I mean, granted, I'm sure you can go wrong with it, but
I think the only
it'd be
reason
harder
why,
to pin down a misinterpretation of those movies.
I would only say
that
the
wasn't
reason
obvious.
why American Psycho is the one that I would pick is because I to this day have trouble deciphering whether it's in his head or not, or if there was a cover up. So that's why I'm.
I don't think that's a misunderstanding, though. I think that's one of the. I think that ambiguity is intentional. I think they want you to think about it.
None of the director is on record as stating that she is very unhappy that people thought it was on his head, and that's not at all what she intended.
Okay.
I mean, I never took it as it being in his head, but I could see. I mean, I get why a lot of people did, but
I mean, for that reason, probably American Psycho because it didn't. The broader interpretation didn't turn out how the director wanted, and also because one thing we still understand Fight Club as coming very much from 90s culture as a reaction to the emasculation of men and the loss of purpose among young guys in the 90s. But I think the cultural context for American Psycho has largely been lost.
Oh yeah.
People don't really they've kind of forgotten that the 80s it was a parody and a commentary on the hedonistic, ultra selfish yuppie culture of the 80s that was particularly prominent on Wall Street.
Yep.
And that's what but people don't understand it when they watch the movie now. And without that context, it's really hard to grasp what the point and the function of the movie is and its themes and things like that. So I would say American Psycho.
Oh yeah.
Also the Dorsia restaurant is the true antagonist of that movie. Always remember that.
You can just never get a table, dude. You can never get a table.
That's my favorite scene of that movie. Dorsia, 9:30 or 9 o'clock? Sure. It's like we don't have a table. What the fuck is wrong with you?
And Jared Leto is the link between those two movies.
Yeah,
I have that on the next year's schedule. So and I know
and
that
in
Despot,
both
I know you like that one.
movies. In both movies, in one movie he's beaten to a pulp by the main character, and the other one he's murdered by the main character.
And it's his 2 best movies ever. Somehow. But
you know you can do Morbius. We're getting there ahead of time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Morbius is underrated, man.
So okay, let's go around the horn real quick. You don't need to you don't need to put your explanation behind it. We'll just do it the way they do, where we just say it and everybody just kind of reacts quickly. Let's start with your historical. If you have one, if you don't, just pass on. Starting with Gord. Historical figure, dead, alive or dead. Who would you?
Oh, was it a historical figure? I was thinking like an actor.
Well, there's celebrity, historical figure, and then who would you fight if anybody, which I considered a wild card.
Okay. Well, celebrity, I'd fight Eddie Redmayne just because I'd love to beat him up.
Okay.
Historical figure.
If you don't have one, you could just pass.
Yeah, I don't know if I could think of one. My joke answer was going to be Haley Joe Osment at his Sixth Sense age because I know I'd win.
That's fine. That works.
He might even see himself by the end of it.
I guess we'll go counterclockwise. Uninspired, you're next.
It will probably be between Frank Sinatra or Warwick Davis.
What do you got against old Blue Eyes? What the?
I love that that's the one that troubled you, not him fighting.
Well, that's I'm from New Jersey, so it's like, yeah, it hit me hard right there. It's like...
No, dude, no, I love Frank Sinatra. Like Frank Sinatra and James Stewart are probably the people that I'd love to meet. If you tell me,
you want to fight him so you can meet him. I get it.
I'd like to fight Frankie, dude. I'd like to fight him. I think he's got some mean fighting spirit in him. I think it'd be a good match.
He's got some mean connections as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true, dude.
I mean, I've heard Frank Sinatra used to beat the shit out of people, so like,
that's what I'm saying. It'll be an interesting fight, dude. Yeah, he used to smoke weed with the Kennedys and everything, man. There's a great 3-hour documentary on Frank Sinatra on Netflix. It's a 2-parter, 1.5 hours each. Really, really good, especially if you love Frank Sinatra as much as I do, man. I love his stuff. But yeah, Frank Sinatra and Warwick Davis. I'll take him on.
Richard, how about you?
Right. Well, for once, I should put some thought into this. I went Christian Bale, but I'm not saying what he's from. So pick a number from 1 to 6, and I'll give you what I've written down for it.
Okay. Let's go with
Dark
2.
Hour. 2.
Let's go with 2.
You get American Psycho. So yeah, bad luck. Despot.
Oh, I'd fight Robert E. Lee, historical figure.
Oh, I sorry. I was hoping.
He meant pick that. He meant pick a number.
Pick a number.
Oh, number 4.
4. Empire of the Sun. Great. It might as well be fighting Warwick Davis.
You'll probably win that one.
Nailed it. Yeah. Excellent. And uninspired?
6.
Vice. So where he's playing Dick Cheney. All day.
Okay.
Oh, lucky.
Just watch out for the shot when he goes duck shooting, right? Is that the same guy, isn't it?
Can I fight Liz Cheney?
Gord, pick one. 1, 3, or 5.
1.
Henry V, where he's just a young kid in it. He's a soldier, but he's
King
like
versus
14.
King. I like it.
Well, he's part of he's in Brannan's Henry V, where he's one of the young kids who's in the luggage that gets massacred by the French. So he's about 14. So yeah, you've got him. I reckon you'd have him. The other option was Ford versus Ferrari and Batman. Yeah, so maybe could run you down and thing.
So we're all fighting different versions of Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Despot.
Oh yeah, Robert E. Lee, historical figure, and Jaden Smith for celebrity.
Ooh, okay.
Can we all help with Jaden Smith?
That's the Kung Fu Kid right there. You gotta watch out.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, he was fighting Asians. You know, he used to reverse.
I'm gonna try to channel the spirit of Ed Norton fighting Jared Leto when I'm up against Jaden Smith.
Why Robert E. Lee?
Yeah. Why Robert?
Oh, why Robert E. Lee? Yeah. Well, I would want to see how he would react. I would want to see if because he was a great soldier, but does he have how what's he like as a fighter? You know, because he's much taller than me, so he's got a decent. As long as he fights, he should do.
He's a lanky guy. They fight. What is it? That's the one line I can never remember. The lanky guy.
He's not going to back down. He's an honorable man. He won't back down, but I don't think he would be skilled. So I think it'd be an interesting match.
Well, if he starts losing, he can just like tag in for Stonewall Jackson to come and bail him out.
That's true.
Ghost of Stonewall Jackson.
I'm gonna get flanked by Stonewall Jackson out of nowhere.
So the two I came up with, historical figure Karl Marx for some pretty obvious reasons.
Oh, yeah. And, can I also pick Karl Marx and we just both
sure. And we'll do a handicap match on Karl Marx.
Nice.
Which is that there's some poetic justice there. That's and my celebrity was Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal, because I fucking hate Steven Seagal.
I think we could take on Steven Seagal in a fight, dude. He probably
I don't. You'd beat Steven Seagal with Dark Art.
Oh no, I know I would. I just don't like him. All right, let's
this Aikido file.
Yeah. So I guess let's do a quick roundup. You know what? Let's only because of how like we're kind of running a little late. I know it's late for Uninspired. We'll consider that our final thoughts, and let's jump right into the plug your shit segment, Uninspired, because I know it's like 3 in the morning for you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to plug your shit. You know what that means. It's the part of the show where you have to let the people know where you're going to be, what you've already done, or what you're going to be doing. So, I guess we just start with Jax O'Lantern.
Let's see. I'll be on several live streams this week. MMM on Monday. That's the one I co-host on every week. We are doing the 2022 Danish Speak No Evil, which I actually haven't watched yet, so I'm really looking forward to check that out. I know Cannoli, he watched it last night and said it was pretty messed up, and I know Vex has seen it at least once, probably multiple times.
It's pretty cool, man. Yeah. You'll like it. You'll probably like it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Tuesday, I'll be on Jacob Ironside's channel talking Pirates of the Caribbean 1. I think I'm on Gooch's channel Wednesday talking Grave of the Fireflies. Great movie. And then I this past Monday, I released the second in my Poorly Explained series. They're basically satirical reviews. I did a Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone recently. I'm currently working on a poorly explained version of the most recent Crow movie because Vex really wanted me to. So I'm pretty much about 95% through that script, and I'll start editing this week. Hopefully have it up by about Friday or so.
Nice. Dude, gun to your head. Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, or Dead Man's Chest?
Oh, I think Curse of the Black Pearl is way better. I actually kind of like At World's End a little more than Dead Man's Chest, I'm going to be honest.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's actually better. I just kind of like it more.
All right. I like
that's
that.
okay. You can like things better even if it's like objectively inferior.
It's objectively inferior, but I think Pirates 1 is the best one and the one I like the most easily.
All right. Well, Despot, what about you, man? It's time to plug your shit, my man.
Yeah, I'm gonna be releasing my Acolyte video on Thursday, maybe.
Ooh, nice.
And you can catch him on Echo Chamberlain's show all the time. Don't forget that.
Yeah, we do every 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's. Are you officially like a co-host or just a permanent guest? I don't know how that works. Like, how does that? What is your?
So basically, Echo runs it. It's the Echo Chamber, and me and Greg own our permanent panel guests.
You just have permanent seats. You're like the UN Security Council. You just have permanent seats on it.
But Echo does it because me and Greg both have kids, so we don't have the time to organize it.
Pirates 1 is Pirates 4 is second best. On Stranger Tides? Is that what we're talking about? On Stranger Tides?
Yeah.
I don't know, Melvin.
That one's awful.
Yeah.
I don't even want to touch that one. I
actually think that might be the worst one.
Richard, what do you got? You got any articles coming out soon or?
Yeah, I pushed one out the other day about a film I'd like to see made, which is the Charlie Brown Franz Stiegler incident, which was from the Second World War, where Charlie Brown was flying a B-17 and it was shot to shit. He managed to stop it crashing into the ground, only just, and then they've got to fly from Germany over France back into England to land, and they're down to one fully working engine. And then they have a Messerschmitt 109 flies up next to them and could have taken them out real easy. But it was flown by Franz Stiegler, who basically escorted them back to safety. And he was in a position where if he'd shot down a plane the size of the B-17, he could have retired. And only Hitler could have forced him back into the military. He would have reached his points, he could have gone. But when he was taught to be a pilot, he was told, you've got to, if you shoot down someone who's parachuting, the person who taught him, I'll kill you. Yeah, we respect people in the air. And I know Dark Hour's a fan of Sabaton. They covered it with a real good song, No Bullets Fly. And that's where I heard of it as well. And they were the crew of the B-17 were about to get medals But when they heard they got helped by the Germans, the American high command went, nah, you can't talk about it. No medals, no nothing. And then in 2000, they finally met and they became bloody good friends. And Brown invited Stiegler to a reunion of the flight squadron. And there was 100 people there who all of them were alive because Stiegler had not shot down the plane. And he got to meet him, yeah. And basically, they're best friends. And, you know, make a bloody good film. And it's already got a soundtrack by Sabaton, who are pretty good. I like
Sabaton. I approve, as long as it's Sabaton.
Yeah. And the other thing, my other article I'm working on is Doctor Who. One of my favourite episodes is Vincent and the Doctor, where they meet Vincent van Gogh. And it really goes into the mental health side of how Vincent ends up committing suicide. And the big thing is the monster in it is invisible, because mental health is invisible. And yeah, I really like that. So that's what I'm working on next. And I've got a Facebook page and I'm on Substack as well for that.
Yes, yeah, I was actually just going to say that all of their links will be in the description of this, as well as the repost. Richard's is a Substack. It's not YouTube like we normally do. He does more written articles, but that's you could he's got some really good stuff over there. Uninspired, what's going on with you? Have you finished the Old Boy video yet?
No, dude, but I've actually like properly dived back into it, which there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff, man. Editing wise, I haven't started the editing. I have because I have some sections that are already edited because I'm trying to get them past copyright, because I don't know how international, like Korean copyright works. I'm not too sure about that, so I'm kind of just testing the waters with it. But script wise, man, it's looking really good. I'm very, very happy with where the Old Boy video is at. Plus, there is a ton of new information that came out with Neon's 20-year re-release last year. So there's a lot of new bonus like BTS stuff that I can use to also emphasize on my analysis. So yeah, it's gonna be a great video, man. It's gonna be a great video. What about you, man?
Well, I'm officially the producer over at BSUP on Little Platoon's channel now, so you can catch me there, obviously here on Two Hose, and I will hopefully by Tuesday have part 2 of my Acolyte video series out. Sorry, not Acolyte. Sorry, Rings of Power. Despot saying Acolyte screwed me up. Rings of Power. The show keeps getting worse. I haven't even written anything other than my thumb ups of the episodes, and I'm already at like 10 pages.
Jesus.
And I haven't even gotten to like any of the other stuff for this section yet. The last one was almost 20 minutes. This one's probably going to be closer to 25. By the time I'm done with the show, I wouldn't be shocked if I have an hour and a half's worth of stuff.
All right. Well, do check that out, man. And before we tap out, we just have 2 more things. So this super chat by the Heathen Monk for $5. Thank you, Heathen Monk. Good stream. Love this channel. And if I could fight anyone, it would be Bob Ross. I think he's meaner than he looks. Yeah, I think he's meaner than he looks too, man.
Happy little corner.
He was a drill sergeant before he was a painter.
Yep, that's true. Yeah,
did not know.
Bob Ross could probably fuck you up, man. Yeah, you gotta watch.
And then he
out.
would paint a picture of it.
Well, he'd paint the walls with your blood first, and then he'd.
And so yeah, this is the last one that we're gonna do, and then we'll end the stream. So don't shoot me, X. Do you think people will make such movies like Fight Club, American Psycho, etc. on our modern times in the future? So yeah,
maybe in the future, but currently no. I would say
if the pendulum swings back, sure.
Right now, I mean, if the pendulum keeps swinging right, maybe you would get that, because Hollywood have started to divest themselves of the message. I mean, anybody who saw Beetlejuice 2 can tell that there was originally a climate change message in the movie, which was edited out. That's just one example of it. But it would need to keep going right. Hollywood would need to get to the point where they are making movies for men again. And there is no way that's happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I think I was discussing this with Waylon Bacifus, like on DMs, because we talk about Westerns a lot. And we've been saying recently that I think that if they bring back the Western, and not only like just the Western, but actual good masculine Westerns, I think that could be the start of a nice cultural shift. And we were saying that between Waylon and myself. We were saying that for Westerns to make a proper comeback, I think we need someone like Christopher Nolan, who has a lot of pull just from his name alone to be able to bring in tons of seats to the theater and kind of just revitalize the genre. Because you have what's his name? The dude that's making all the Westerns nowadays, all those 1880s.
S. Craig Zoller?
No, not S. Craig Zoller.
No, he just
Kevin Costner?
He just made the one.
Sheridan.
Yeah, Sheridan. Yeah,
Sheridan. Yeah, I guess
Sheridan is sort of bringing it back, but the issue is that his name isn't big enough where he has enough pull to bring people to the theaters, or just like that. So I think for Westerns to come back and for us to get like proper masculine movies, we need Nolan to make something big like that. You know,
I would love to see a Nolan Western, but written by somebody else.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the Americana. I'd want an American screenplay writer to maybe pull that off, but I think the actual filmmaking, he'd be perfect for it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
I'd like to see a spin-off of the chef from Yellowstone. Man, his food always looks good.
And on that note, I guess we are done. That was Fight Club, ladies and gentlemen. Two host number 30. Yeah, man, 30 episodes of Two Hosts. Yeah, going strong, dude. Yeah. Just want to say massive thank you to our panelists. Massive thank you to I Am Jax O'Lantern, aka the Gourd King, aka the Pumpkin Man. Of course, Despot. Massive thank you to you two for coming on. First time. Well, Gourd, it's your first time, but I've streamed with you a ton. I've never streamed with Despot already. So yeah, it was a pleasure, man. You're invited
Likewise.
back anytime you want, man. And thank you again, Richard. You as well. It's great to have you back on. Last time you were here was for Kung Fu Hustle, which was my personal pick. Thank you for that. And it's great to have you back on, dude. I hope you had a great time.
Can I add one thing? I know
sure.
I keep asking, you want to go, some of it's quite late. Any of you remember Hercules that was filmed in New Zealand with Kevin Sorbo, the legendary?
Oh, yeah.
So my wife was out on Wednesday night with her best mate. They went to go and see a play, and it had Michael Hurst in it, who plays his best mate, ELS.
Oh,
and he's still acting, and he did him and his real life wife did it's a two-parter, just the two of them in it. It's a play about a couple getting older and getting dementia, and basically it's gradually forgets the odd things, but basically it's Michael Hurst. You guys would have remembered him from Hercules. But yeah, real good. Yeah, she wife bawled her eyes out at the end of it because it was quite emotional towards the end, but bloody good apparently.
Nice. Well, I mean, it's great to hear that people like that are still, going strong and actually delivering. So yeah. Oh, dude. So just massive thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you to everyone on the re-upload as well. So hi everyone watching the re-upload from the past.
Still trying to build that channel. So if you're watching live and haven't subscribed, please do. We're trying to get that channel a little bit more built. So
please do check out every one of our panelists that was here tonight. All the links are in the descriptions. Do check out everyone. They make incredible content. And thank you to everyone in the chat. Dark Hour, I guess we can take it away. Cheers, everyone.
Later.